All right, welcome to Friday Night Torah Study! Yeah, somebody's excited. Well, welcome to our Friday Night Torah Study. We do this every Friday night with the exception of feasts at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. So if you like and subscribe on the channel, if this is your first time visiting with us, you'll be notified of any upcoming events or changes and be told when all the exciting things here at MTOI Worldwide are occurring and happening. So this is our Torah Study service, and we have a double portion tonight. We're going to get through the book of Numbers, complete that, and tonight's Torah portions are Matot, which means tribes, and Massei, which means journeys. That takes us through Numbers 30, verse 1, through Numbers 36 and verse 13. There are a total of 15 readings, so we'll do Rabbi Time will be our first reader, then we'll go through 7, and then we'll go through another 8. So we're excited to have you guys here tonight to be a part of this service. If you're online, we have our Shamish team online, so behave. If this is not to your liking, just stay a little while longer. You might come across something you like. We enjoy it. We do this every week, all year long, and we really enjoy it. We get to start Shabbat together with Erev Shabbat and a meal at 6 o'clock p.m., and then we get to go right into Torah study at 7:30, which you're a part of now. And then we go to service tomorrow, which you'll hear in the announcements. Service times tomorrow. We'll spend the next 24 hours plus together here at Beth Shalom and MTOI Worldwide. So we're excited to have you here. So just to give you a little bit about how the service is going to run, we're going to have all of our readers come up. Once they come up, I'll give them their portion and say a blessing over each reader. After that, all the readers have read. We'll have Mr. Grayson Gardner come up and take us through the announcements, followed by Rabbi Steve coming out to do the Torah, do the Midrash and answer any questions or comments or anything you may have gleaned or maybe need some more clarity or understanding through the scriptures. So we're excited to do that, and that's how we're going to start. So, how it's going to go. So we're going to start with prayer and praise. I didn't mention that, but that's the first thing we do. So if you're online, it's very interactive. You can start typing in your prayers and your praises now. We just ask that you keep it to the most urgent prayers and the most praiseworthy praises or follow-ups that you may have. And we're going to start here locally with Miss Sarah Beth. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Elder. So praise. It was 6 years ago, day that's starting, that I had a black eye from loading my goat into our truck so I could make the way down here. We arrived, and I got to start the journey that most of you have experienced of the chaos of moving and getting your life turned upside down because you joined Beth Shalom. Best decision I ever made.
Amen.
Praise for 6 wonderful years.
Amen. Awesome. Awesome.
Praise not only for all of the people that have played such an amazing part, both villain and heroes that have played parts in this story, and just such an amazing thank you to the leadership, Rabbi Tom, Rabbi Steve, and you elders for all of your support. And I just can't wait for the next 6 years because it's been a wild ride so far.
Amen. And no more black eyes. There you go. They are not allowed. Amen. Miss Betty, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Elder. I just want to say thank you to Yahweh for my friend back in December. I'd asked prayer. She had 4th stage melanoma cancer, went to her liver, her bones, and her lungs. She's cancer-free.
Amen.
So I just want to praise Yah, and now praying that Yahweh will pop her bubble.
Amen. That is awesome. What a praise. Shabbat Shalom, Chris.
Shabbat Shalom, Elder Billy. I have a big praise. I got the position I was looking for at Unum.
Hey!
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm super excited.
I know you are.
My manager basically heard all the good things that my other coworkers were talking about with me. And she went to her manager and talked about whether they could have a place for me in the role I'm doing right now, and that's what they did. They made so I can basically continue what I'm doing in my internship, but past August, and it'd be really cool to do a salary position there.
Wow.
And, work like my dream doing the development and testing, automated testing of the code with these really cool people that I get to work with.
That's awesome.
I really like the kind of the curiosity and love that these other people have for the code and the work. And so I'm super excited to do that. That has been kind of something I didn't know about what I was going to do after August. So praise for that. I think it's such a good thing, and people, if they're thinking like, oh, well, he's smart or something, he's whatever, and it is a strength I have, but I want to say like I have a weakness in many things, especially working with my hands. And for people who are like who think it's some sort of gift or something. No, I mean, you just have to work, and you have to do things like, for example, this is my third tithe year, do all the tithes like you're supposed to be doing, and you're always looking for people to bless who are doing those things, because that will further his purpose and his reputation. He's not going to bless people who are just who are like not tithing and not doing what he said to do. So I really want to say that as part of it. Yeah.
Amen, Chris. You stick it to him. Chris is phenomenal. I remember I talked to him many years ago. I don't even know how old he was, but about 3 years ago, my first experience talking to Chris before he moved here. It was amazing. Then it's amazing now to see the growth and what I was doing in this life. And you are definitely gifted. So I don't care what people say about you. You are gifted, and we love you. So amen. All right, Shabbat Shalom, Miss Jana.
Shabbat Shalom. Good to have you back.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So this is going to be our third year of third tithe year,
Second, third tithe year.
Sukkot.
Wow.
Okay. It's going to be really exciting.
Wow.
Yes.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah, very good. So I just have a couple of, first a praise. I was asking for prayer for my daughter for her condition, skin issue, and she's getting better.
Amen.
Amen. Yeah, it's a praise, a real praise. But also, the kids are going to have time to spend with Dad in Texas, which they need so much, as you all probably can, I think. It's going to be really good, and it's going to give me the opportunity to go to visit my parents and the Fifth Commandment, honor my parents, and so that's going to be really good. And so praise for safe travels and that sort of thing, and praise Yah for it because it's Shabbat.
Amen. It is Shabbat. Praise Yahweh. It is Shabbat. All right, I sing by myself. All right, Shabbat Shalom, Mr. Robert. Walking up, no cane, no chair. Woo! That's a praise that you walked up here. Awesome.
Shabbat Shalom, Elder, and that's actually why I came up here, was to give him praise.
Praise Yah.
I have not had to use either one since Sunday.
Amen. Amen.
And my prayer is that I pay attention to my body and don't overdo it.
Amen.
And end up back in that predicament.
There you go. Amen. We can certainly pray for that. Glad to see you up and out and about. That's awesome. Shabbat Shalom, Maria.
Shabbat Shalom. So I have a praise today. I talked to my boss at Vibes, the coffee shop I work at, and kind of saying, like, I'm ready to quit because it's just not making enough money. And mostly because I want to work mornings, because most people want coffee in the morning, not the afternoon, and he was scheduling the afternoon. And he said, you can send me a text every Friday and you can make your own schedule. So I get to, so that's a huge praise, because then I can work at Olive Garden and I can, pick up shifts there. So I can make all my schedules for both jobs. So
look at
that's
that. That is awesome. All the stuff I was doing for his babies. The children of Israel. Don't bring no bad news. We didn't have praise no. I'm teasing.
Not with this one.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom, Ashley.
Shabbat Shalom, Elder. What a week. Monday started on Sunday.
Yes, indeed.
First and foremost, I want to apologize for because as I said, I wasn't going to have a praise and prayer, and I thought of the miraculous thing that happened today.
Amen.
Me and my husband have been having issues with the right role for the right person in the marriage. And today we had to go buy a new fridge, long story short. And I was checking out the fridge, and I wanted to make sure I could get all the shelves out, everything, because when he can work, I want him to work. I don't want to bother him. And I've been working on that for a long time.
Amen.
So I pulled out the shelf, and I'm like, I'm having trouble with it. I'm like, I looked at the sales guy. I'm like, give me a minute. I got this. I won't break it, I promise. And he's looking at me back going, okay. And I said, I have to get this, because if I can't get everything right on this fridge, I ain't getting the fridge, because I don't want to bother my husband for something a woman should do. If the woman can do it, the man needs to go out to work. And the guy looked at me and looked at my husband, looked up at me. Where can I get more of her? I'm like, yeah, Rabbi, thank you.
Amen. Amen. Praise Yah. And you don't have a black eye. There you go. Praise Yah. Amen. Well, I have one before we go to the live stream. So we had a week of Mondays, as Ashley said, starting on Sunday. Many of you may be aware that we had some challenges in our mishpachah with the Lane, Craig Lane, and his family. And so we dealt with it. We spoke with them. And just to let you all of you know that he's no longer, him and his family are no longer a part of our congregation, and he's no longer in the camp. All right? So they're outside the camp, no longer a part of our congregation. We did make every effort, as you guys should know and should be aware of. We made every effort to bring peace without the best way we knew how. It didn't work. And so we had no other choice. So we just want to make everyone aware, if you weren't already, that the Lanes are no longer a part of Beth Shalom and MTOI, and we are considering them to be outside of the camp. All right? If you have any questions, you can definitely feel free to ask us after service, me or Rabbi, if you need any clarity on that. All right? All right, live stream.
Okay, from MTOI Odessa, prayers for Lorena on making the right decisions on a job opportunity that has come up. Prayers for Jessica's boys and their overall behavior in the upcoming school year. Prayer for Tyler, that Yahweh strengthens him in his new position and gives him the mind of Yeshua. Anonymous prayer for my husband, that a career path will open up.
Amen.
Pamela Schuford, praise Yah, Ken got his hearing aids yesterday. Now he can hear my charming voice again.
Amen.
Even though he still says what. I don't understand. So, Pepita says, praise Yah, my father's medical procedures, URS, has been done smoothly, successfully. We're waiting to be able to leave the hospital today, hoping the doctor will allow. Jenny B., please pray for me. My doctor found a lump in both breasts. I go for my first mammogram this Tuesday, and I am scared. Evangeline Agalasso, praising Yah for his favor and mercy for an answered prayer. My Social Security benefits all went well in the office today, not a long wait. Walk softly upon the earth. Super praise. Our house sold this week. 11th hour sale. We bought a house, and my husband was offered an amazing job this week. A week of wows.
Amen.
Simon Gibbs, praise. Dental surgery for number one child went great. We have been offered a large commercial business premise for free for the next 4 months.
Amen.
So, yeah. Kayla Wright requested prayer for Marco Polo earlier for my grandmother who went to ER and AFib. Heart rate is back to normal, and all of the tests came back normal. Hallelujah.
Amen.
She's at the hospital for observation. Amen. Sandy Johnson, doctor, put me on a new medication today. Please pray that my body can handle it. From Larry in New Zealand, health problems in our family. Sandy Williams, praise, celebrating 30 years of marriage this Sunday. Yah has taken such good care of us.
Amen.
Had many unspoken, had several on employment issues, a couple more prayers of upcoming schools starting back here soon, in a few weeks.
Amen.
Some more unspoken. Some prayer or praises that people got to spend some time with some family members. And I think that is it. That's got us caught up on all the urgent.
Amen. Amen. Just want to add one comment to the announcement that I made to make it clear. Clear is absolutely possible. you guys got to know, Rabbi says it all the time, when you're in a bad or negative emotional space, you should not get on social media. You need to put gloves, tie your hands up, sit on them, do whatever you have to do. But that is not the place for you to go and spew your opinions or your feelings or your emotional negative spewing, not on Facebook or any social media. We talk about it all the time. And in spite of that happening, and it happens very often, as a matter of fact, here at Beth Shalom and MTOI, worldwide, we do our very best, Rabbi and I, Rabbi Tom included, to try to mitigate and try to correct and fix and be a peacemaker amongst all parties involved. But when you decide to not take the request that then turns into almost a command. We need you to do this for the sake of peace and not disrupting everybody's lives with your emotional breakdown or whatever you may have, and you decide to do that, there are consequences. And it's really sad that people will choose that road, especially when they have someone as nice as the leadership you have here that's willing to go above and beyond to make sure everybody is treated fairly in a respectable way. So if you have an issue with your brother or your sister, you should come to your leadership before you go and start typing on social media. Come to us. We know what's going on. We know more than you guys think we know. Because you'll come to us saying, did you know? And we'll say, yes, we know. We are aware. Because you know what happens? One person will tell one person and everybody knows, okay? So it's unfortunate and it's sad because we do love the Lane family that this had to take place. But it had to take place because they don't want to listen. So let that be a lesson to all of you. If you have a concern, bring it to your leadership. We are more than capable to handle whatever you bring our way. If you choose not to and we reach out to you and it doesn't happen, there are consequences, and one of the consequences was that they were removed from the congregation, just so everybody's aware, okay? All right.
I just want to make something clear. I was listening to Elder's words, a fantastic job of dealing with a very challenging situation. I just want to be clear, though, that because this is what's going to happen is that Craig is going to go nuts online saying that we're avoiding the issue or defending the issue. The issue that he brought up will be dealt with tomorrow, okay? And it'll be dealt with here in front of everyone properly, the way it should have been dealt with, okay? So just so that we're clear that this was because of the lashing out behavior that he displayed, all right? But I just want to make it sure that it's been expressed without any, confusion, that we will be directly addressing what happened, okay, and what his issues were. Because otherwise the internet's just going to go, oh, you guys just brushing on the thing and just want to get rid of Craig because Craig. No, that's not the problem. Okay. Problem was when I called him, I said, why did you do this without talking to me first? And then he went berserko on me on the phone. And that's when I said, then never mind. Okay? There's a right way to handle everything, and you might find out that you were wrong about your conclusion jumping and your assumptions. In this case, he was. Okay? And so we will definitely give this all the clarity it needs tomorrow. So those of you that are watching online, if you don't normally watch them, we'll go watch the recording tomorrow during the prayer time when we will deal with this much more in detail. But we don't want to get everybody at the same time. And we know that, he's fairly active online. So we just want everybody to know before they, because this is what, we get people all the time getting mad at us for not telling them. Why didn't you tell me that so-and-so was no longer part of the group? Well, now we're telling you, okay? All right, but I just wanted to make sure that it was absolutely clear that we will address the issue that he was trying to address very poorly, okay? All right.
All right. Now, Mr. Paul Rippey is going to come up and open us up in prayer.
Abba, Father, we come before you tonight on the beginning of this, another great, beautiful Sabbath. And we lift all of these prayers and praises up to you, knowing that you are going to answer them in your way. I just ask that you give us the strength and the wisdom to accept your answer. And please be with the readers tonight and allow us to glean something and learn something new that we didn't know before. And I ask these things in your Son's name, Yeshua, our Messiah. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Paul. Awesome. Readers, you can come take your seats. While they're coming, Rabbi Tom is going to be our first reader. While the readers are coming, getting situated, I'm just going to go through for those that may have just come in the room. This is our Torah study. We do this every week, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in Cleveland, Tennessee. We start the evening with at 6 o'clock with Erev Shabbat, a meal together, and we follow it up by Torah study, which we're doing right now. We got a double portion tonight, which is Matot, which means tribes, Numbers 31 through 32:42. There's 7 readings. And then we're going to go through Massei, which means journeys, which is Numbers 33:1 through 36:13. And then we'll finish the book of Numbers. So each reader will come up. I'll say a blessing over each reader. After all the readers have read, we'll do a blessing over all of them. Following that, Mr. Grayson Gardner will come up and take us through the announcements. And then Rabbi Steve will come up and take us through the Midrash, answer any questions or comments, really take us through the Torah portion in a bullet-style kind of points. Take us through the things that we need to know and glean out of it. And that's what the Torah portion's really about. You should be looking to find what you can glean out to apply to your life today. So we should be looking for that. What can you apply to your life today? So super excited to get started here. We're going to have Rabbi Tom, our first reader, come up. Paper on your back. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Rabbi Tom, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless him and his family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of his hands. Amen. All right, Rabbi Tom, you're going to take us from chapter 30, verse 1 through 16.
And Moshe spoke to the heads of the tribes concerning the children of Israel, saying, This is the word which Yahweh has commanded. When a man vows a vow to Yahweh, or swears an oath to bind himself by some agreement, he does not break his word. He does according to all that comes out of his mouth. Or if a woman vows a vow to Yahweh, and binds herself by some agreement while in her father's house in her youth, and her father hears her vow, and the agreement by which she has bound herself, and her father has kept silent towards her, then all her vows shall stand, and every agreement with which she has bound herself stands. But if her father forbids her on the day that he hears, then none of her vows nor agreements by which she has bound herself stand. And Yahweh pardons her because her father has forbidden her. But if she at all belongs to a husband, while bound by her vows or by a rash utterance from her lips, by which she bound herself, and her husband hears it, and he has kept silent toward her on the day that he hears, then her vow shall stand, and her agreements by which she has bound herself do stand. But if her husband forbids her on the day that he hears it, then he has nullified her vow which she vowed, and the rash utterance of her lips by which she bound herself, and Yahweh pardons her. But any vow of a widow or a divorced woman by which she has bound herself stands against her. And if she vowed in her husband's house or bound herself by an agreement with an oath, and her husband heard it and has kept silent toward her and did not forbid her, then all her vows shall stand, and every agreement by which she bound herself stands. But if her husband clearly nullified them on the day he heard them, then whatever came from her lips concerning her vows or concerning the agreement binding her, it does not stand. Her husband has nullified them, and Yahweh pardons her. Every vow and every binding oath to afflict her being, let her husband confirm it, or let her husband nullify it. But if her husband is altogether silent at her from day to day, then he confirms all her vows or all the agreements that bind her. He confirms them because he kept silent towards her on the day that he heard. But if he nullifies them after he has heard, then he shall bear her crookedness. These are the laws which Yahweh commanded Moshe between a man and his wife, between a father and his daughter, in her youth in her father's house.
Amen. Thank you, Rabbi Tom. Next up, we have Victoria. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Victoria, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of her hands. Amen. All right, Victoria, you're going to take us into chapter 31, reading verses 1 through 18.
And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, "Take vengeance for the children of Israel on the Midianites. After that, you are to be gathered to your people." And Moshe spoke to the people, saying, "Arm some of yourselves for the campaign, and let them go against the Midianites to take vengeance for Yahweh on Midian. Send 1,000 from each tribe of all the tribes of Israel for the campaign." So there were supplied from tribes of Israel 1,000, one from each tribe, 12,000 armed for the campaign. And Moshe sent them on the campaign, 1,000 from each tribe, them and Pinchas, the son of Eleazar, the priest, on the campaign, with the set-apart utensils and the trumpets for sounding in his hand. And they fought against the Midianites as Yahweh commanded Moshe, and killed all the males. And they killed all the sovereigns of Midian, with the rest of those who were pierced, Ewi and Rechem and Zur and Hur and Reva and the 5 sovereigns of Midian. And they killed Bilam, son of Beor, with the sword. And the sons of Israel took all the women of Midian captive, with all their little ones, and took the spoil of their livestock and all their possessions. And they burned with fire all the cities where they dwelt and all their settlements. And they took all the spoil and all the booty, both of men and beast, and they brought captives and the booty and spoil to Moshe, and to Eleazar the priest, and to the congregation of the children of Israel, to the camp in the desert plains of Moab, by the Yarden of Jericho. And Moshe and Eleazar the priest, and all the leaders of the congregation went to meet them outside of the camp. But Moshe was wroth with the officers of the army, with the commanders of thousands and the commanders of hundreds, who had come from the campaign. And Moshe said to them, "Have you kept all the women alive? Look, they are the ones who caused the children of Israel, through the word of Bilam, to trespass against Yahweh in the matter of Peor. And there was a plague among the congregation of Yahweh. And now kill every male among the little ones, and every woman who has known a man by lying with a man you shall kill. But keep alive for yourselves all the female children who have not known a man by lying with a man."
Amen. Thank you, Victoria. Next up, we have Kat. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Kat, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her family, and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of her hands. Amen. All right, you're going to take us from verse 19 to verse 40.
"And you camp outside the camp 7 days. Whoever has killed any being, and whoever has touched any slain, cleanse yourself and your captives on the 3rd day and on the 7th day. And cleanse every garment and every object of leather, and all the work of goat's hair, and every object of wood." And Eleazar the priest said to the men of the campaign who went to the battle, "This is the law of Torah which Yahweh commanded Moshe. Only the gold and the silver, the bronze, the iron, the tin, and the lead. Every object that passes through fire you put through the fire, and it shall be clean. Only let it be cleansed with the water for uncleanliness. Whatever does not pass through fire, you pass through water. And you shall wash your garments on the 7th day and be clean. And afterwards come into the camp." And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, "Count up the plunder that was taken of the man and of the beast. You and Eleazar the priest and the heads of the fathers of the congregation. And you shall divide the plunder into 2 parts between those who took part in the battle, who went out on the campaign, and all the congregation. And set aside a levy for Yahweh on the men of the battle who went out on the campaign, 1 out of every 500 of men, and of the cattle, and of the donkeys, and of the sheep. Take it from the half, and give it to the Eleazar the priest as a contribution to Yahweh. And from the children of Israel's half you shall take 1 of every 50 of men, the cattle of the donkeys, and the sheep of all the livestock, and give them to the Levites, regarding the duty of the dwelling place of Yahweh. And Moshe and Eleazar the priest did as Yahweh commanded Moshe. And the booty remaining from the plunder which the people of the campaign had taken was 675,000 sheep, and 72,000 cattle, and 61,000 donkeys, and 32,000 human beings in all, of women who had not known a man by lying with a man. And the half of the portion for those who went out on the campaign was in number 337,500 sheep. And the levy unto Yahweh of the sheep was 675. And the cattle were 36,000, of which the levy unto Yahweh was 72. And the donkeys were 30,500, of which the levy unto Yahweh was 61. And the human beings were 16,000, of which the levy unto Yahweh was 32 beings.
Amen. Thank you, Kat. Hey, next up we have my wife. He who blessed our father, yes, I did. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Chantel, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of our hands. Amen. All right, you're going to take us from verse 41 to the end of the chapter.
So Moshe gave the levy, which was the contribution unto Yahweh, to Eleazar the priest, as Yahweh commanded to Moshe. And from the children of Yisrael's half, which Moshe divided from the men who campaigned, now the half belonging to the congregation was 337,500 sheep, and 36,000 cattle, and 30,500 donkeys, and 16,000 human beings. Then Moshe took from the children of Yisrael's half, 1 out of every 50, drawn from man and beast, and gave them to the Levites, who guarded the duty of the dwelling place of Yahweh, as Yahweh commanded Moshe. And the officers who were over thousands of the campaign, the commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds, came near to Moshe. And they said to Moshe, "Your servants have taken account of the fighting men under our command, and not a man of us is missing. So we have brought an offering for Yahweh, what every man found of ornaments of gold, armlets and bracelets and signet rings, and earrings and necklaces, to make atonement for ourselves before Yahweh." And Moshe and Eleazar the priest received the gold from them, all the fashioned ornaments. And all the gold of the offering that they presented to Yahweh from the commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds was 16,750 shekels. The men of the campaign had taken spoil, every man for himself. And Moshe and Eleazar the priest received the gold from the commanders of thousands and of hundreds, and brought it into the tent of appointment as a remembrance for the children of Israel before Yahweh.
Amen. Thank you. Great reading. Next up, we have Andrew. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Andrew, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of his hands. Amen. All right, you're going to take us into chapter 32, reading verses 1 through 13.
And the children of Reuben and the children of Gad had much livestock, a large number, and they saw the land of Yazer and the land of Gilad, and saw that the place was a place for livestock. So the children of Gad and the children of Reuben came and spoke to Moshe and to Eleazar the priest and to the leaders of the congregation, saying, Ataroth, and Divon, and Yazer, and Nimrah, and Heshbon, and El-Aleh, and Sivam, and Nevo, and Beon. The land which Yahweh had stricken before the congregation of Israel is a land for livestock, and your servants have livestock. And they said, if we have found favor in your eyes, let this land be given to your servants as a possession, and do not let us pass over the Yarden. And Moshe said to the children of Gad and to the children of Reuven, are your brothers to go into the battle while you yourselves sit here? Now why do you discourage the heart of the children of Israel from passing over into the land which Yahweh has given them? Thus your fathers did when I sent them from Kadesh Barnea to see the land. For when they went up to the Wadi Eshkol and saw the land, they discouraged the heart of the children of Israel, so that they did not go into the land which Yahweh had given them. Then the displeasure of Yahweh burned on that day, and he swore an oath, saying, not one of the men who came up from Mitzrayim from 20 years old and above is to see the land of which I swore to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, because they did not follow me completely, except Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, and Yehoshua, son of Nun, for they have followed me completely. So the displeasure of Yahweh burned against Israel, and he made them wander in the wilderness 40 years, until all the generation that had done evil in the eyes of Yahweh was destroyed.
Amen. Thank you, Andrew. Next up, we have Brandy. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Brandy, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of her hands. Amen. All right, you're going to take us from verse 14 to verse 28.
And see, you have risen in your father's place, an increase of men, sinners, to add still more the burning displeasure of Yahweh against Israel. For if you turn away from following him, he shall once again leave them in the wilderness, and you shall destroy all these people. Then they came near to him and said, let us build sheep enclosures here for our livestock and cities for all little ones. But let us ourselves be armed, hastening before the children of Israel until we have brought them to their place. And our little ones shall dwell in the walled cities because of the inhabitants of the land. We will not return to our homes until every one of the children of Israel has received his inheritance. For we shall not inherit with them on the other side of the Jordan and beyond, because our inheritance has fallen to us on this eastern side of the Jordan. And Moshe said to them, if you make this promise, if you arm yourselves before Yahweh for battle, and all your armed ones pass over the Jordan before Yahweh until he has driven out his enemies from before him, and the land has been subdued before Yahweh, then afterward you shall return and be guiltless before Yahweh and before Israel, and this land shall be your possession before Yahweh. But if you do not do so, then see, you shall sin against Yahweh, and know your sin is going to find you out. Build cities for your little ones and enclosures for your sheep, and do what you have promised. 28? Oh, and the children of Gad and the children of Reuben spoke to Moshe, saying, your servants are going to do as my master commands. Our little ones, our wives, our flocks, and all our livestock are going to be there in the cities of Gilead. But your servants are passing over every armed one of the army before Yahweh to battle, as my master says. And Moshe gave command concerning them to Eleazar the priest, to Yehoshua son of Nun, and to the heads of the fathers of the tribes of children of Israel.
Amen. Thank you, Brandy. So she's speed reading. Next up, we have Miss Janet. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Miss Janet, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of her hands. Amen. All right, Miss Janet is going to be our last reader from Matot, and that is chapter 32, and you're going to take us from verse 29 to the end of the chapter.
And Moshe said to them, if the children of Gad and the children of Reuben pass over the Jordan with you, every man armed for battle before Yahweh, and the land has been subdued before you, then you shall give them the land of Gilead as a possession. But if they do not pass over armed with you, they shall have possessions among you in the land of Canaan. Then the children of Gad and the children of Reuben answered, saying, As Yahweh has said to your servants, so we do. We ourselves are passing over armed before Yahweh into the land of Canaan, but the possession of our inheritance remains with us beyond the Jordan. So Moshe gave to the children of Gad, to the children of Reuben, and to half the tribe of Manasseh, son of Joseph, the reign of Sihon, sovereign of the Amorites, and the reign of Og, sovereign of Bashan, the land with its cities within the borders, and the cities of the land round about. And the children of Gad built Dibon, and Ataroth, and Aroed, and Atroth, Shophan, and Yair, and Yogedkad, and Beth Nimrah, and Beth Haran, walled cities, and enclosures for sheep. And the children of Reuben built Heshbon, and Elaleh, and Kirjathaim, Nebo, and Baal Peor, Meon, the names being changed, and Shibmah, and they gave other names to the cities which they built. And the sons of Machir, son of Manasseh, went to Gilead and took it, and dispossessed the Amorites who were in it. So Moshe gave Gilead to Machir, son of Manasseh, and he dwelt in it. And Yair, son of Manasseh, went and took its small towns and called them Havoth Yair. And Noba went and took Kenath and its villages, and he called it Noba, after his own name.
Awesome. Great job. Thank you, Miss Janet. All right, we're going to go into the next Torah portion, which is Massei. And Valentina is going to start us off. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Valentina, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of her hands. Amen. All right, you're going to take us from chapter 33, verses 1 through 16.
These are the departures of the children of Israel, who went out of the land of Mitzrayim by their divisions under the hand of Moshe and Aharon. And Moshe wrote down the starting points of their departures at the mouth of Yahweh, and these are their departures according to their starting points. So they departed from Ramesses in the first new moon, on the 15th day of the first new moon. On the morrow of the Pesach, the children of Israel went out with boldness before the eyes of all the Mitzrites. And the Mitzrites were bearing all their firstborn, whom Yahweh had stricken among them. Also on their mighty ones Yahweh had executed judgments. Then the children of Israel departed from Ramesses and camped at Succoth. And they departed from Succoth and camped at Etham, which is on the edge of the wilderness. And they departed from Etham and turned back to Pi-Hahiroth, which is east of Baal-Zephon, and they camped near Migdol. And they departed from before Hahiroth and passed over through the midst of the sea into the wilderness, went 3 days' journey into the wilderness of Etham, and camped at Marah. And they departed from Marah and came to Elim. And at Elim were 12 springs of water and 70 palm trees, so they camped there. And they departed from Elim and camped by the Sea of Reeds. And they departed from the Sea of Reeds and camped in the wilderness of Sin. And they departed from the wilderness of Sin and camped at Dovka. And they departed from Dovka and camped at Alush. And they departed from Alush and camped at Rephidim, and there was no water for the people to drink. And they departed from Rephidim and camped in the wilderness of Sinai. And they departed from the wilderness of Sinai and camped at Kibroth Hatawa.
Amen. Great reading. Thank you, Valentina. Next up, we have TJ. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless TJ, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless him and his family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of his hands. Amen. All right, you're going to take us from verse 17 to verse 37.
And they departed from Kibroth Hataawa and camped at Hatzeroth. And they departed from Hatzeroth and camped at Rithmah. And they departed from Rithmah and camped at Rimmon Peretz. And they departed from Rimmon Peretz and camped at Libnah. And they departed from Libnah and camped at Risah. And they departed from Risah and camped at Kehalathah. And they departed from Kehalathah and camped at Mount Shapher. And they departed from Mount Shapher and camped at Haravah. And they departed from Haravah and camped at Machiloth. And they departed from Machiloth and camped at Tahath. And they departed from Tahath and camped at Terah. And they departed from Terah and camped at Mithkah. And they departed from Mithkah and camped at Hashmonah. And they departed from Hashmonah and camped at Moseroth. And they departed from Moseroth and camped at Benah Yakin. And they departed from Bene Yaakan and camped at Hor Hagidgad. And they departed from Hor Hagidgad and camped at Yothbathah. And they departed from Yothbathah and camped at Avronah. And they departed from Avronah and camped at Etzion Gever. And they departed from Etzion Gever and camped in the wilderness of Sin, which is in Kadesh. And they departed from Kadesh and camped at Mount Hor on the boundary of the land of Edom.
Ah, man. Great reading, TJ. Really good. All right, come on. All right, next up we have Jeremy. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Jeremy, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of his hands. Amen. All right, Jeremy, you're going to take us from verse 38 to the end of the chapter.
Then Aaron the priest went up to Mount Hor in the mouth of Yahweh. Is this right? Okay. And died there in the 40th year after the children of Israel had come out of the land of Mitzrayim, on the first day of the 5th new moon. Now Aaron was 123 years old when he died on Mount Hor. And the sovereign of Arad, the Canaanite, who dwelt in the south in the land of Canaan, heard of the coming of children of Israel. So they departed from Mount Hor and camped at Tahos-Manoah. And they departed from Tahos-Manoah and camped at Pinon. And they departed from Pinon and camped at Obat. And they departed from Obat and camped at Ahi-Habrim and the border of Moab. And they departed from Aim and camped at Dibon-Gad. And they departed from Dibon-Gad and camped at Alman-Dehamateama. And they departed from Alman-Dibhalatahamiah. That sounds different. And camped in the mountains of Abram before Nebo, and departed from the mountains of Abram and camped in the desert plains of Moab by the Yarden of Yerhahu or something. And they camped by Yarden from Bet-Behiat Hishmoth as far as the Abel Shittim, the desert plains of Moab. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe in the desert plains of Moab by the Yarden of Jericho, Yerhu, saying, is this, how far, how more, how further, how much further? To the end of the chapter. Okay. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe in the desert plains of Moab by the Yarden of Jericho, saying, speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when you have passed over the Yarden into the land of Canaan, then you shall drive out all the inhabitants of the land from before you, and shall destroy all the engraved stones, and shall destroy all the molded images, and lay waste all their high places, and you shall possess the land and dwell in it. For I have given you the land to possess, and you shall divide the land by lot as an inheritance among your clans. To the larger you give a larger inheritance, and to the smaller you give a smaller inheritance. Whoever the lot falls to anyone, that is his. You inherit according to the tribes of your fathers. And if you do not drive out the inhabitants of the land from before you, then it shall be that those whom you let remain shall be pricks in your eyes and thorns in your sides, and they shall trouble you in the land where you dwell. And it shall be that I do to you as I thought to do to them.
Oh, man, great job. That was awesome. All right, next up we have Grayson. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Grayson, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of his hands. Amen. All right, you're going to take us into chapter 34, reading verses 1 through 15.
And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, command the children of Israel and say to them, when you come into the land of Canaan, this is the land which falls to you as an inheritance, the land of Canaan to its boundaries. Then your southern border shall be from the wilderness of Sin along the border of Edom, and your southern border shall be eastward from the end of the Salt Sea. Then your border shall turn from the southern side of the ascent of Akrabim, continue to Sin, and be on the south of Kadesh Barnea, and it shall go to Hatzar Adar, and continue to Atzman. And the border shall turn from Atzman to the Wadi of Mitzrayim, and it shall end at the sea. As for the western border, you shall have the great sea for a border. This is your western border. And this is your northern border. From the great sea you mark out your border line to Mount Hor. From Mount Hor you mark out your border to the entrance of Hamat. And the edge of the border shall be toward Sedad. And the border shall proceed to Zephron, and it shall end at Hitzar Anan. This is your northern border. And you shall mark out your eastern border from Hitzar Anan to Shepham, and the border shall go down from Shepham to Riblah on the east side of Ayin. And the border shall go down and reach to the eastern side of the sea of Kinnereth, and the border shall go down along the Yarden and shall end at the Salt Sea. This is your land with its surrounding boundaries. And Moshe commanded the children of Israel, saying, This is the land which you inherit by lot, which Yahweh has commanded to give to the 9 tribes and to the half-tribe. For the tribe of the children of Reuben, according to the house of their fathers, and the tribe of the children of Gad, according to the house of their fathers, have received their inheritance. And the half-tribe of Manasseh has received its inheritance. The 2 tribes and the half-tribe have received their inheritance beyond the Yarden of Jericho, eastward toward the sunrise.
Amen. Thank you, Grayson. Next up, we have Miss Sarah. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Miss Sarah, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of her hands. Amen. All right, you're going to take us from verse 16 to the end of the chapter.
And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, These are the names of the men who divide the land among you as an inheritance, Eleazar the priest and Yehoshua son of Nun. And take 1 leader from every tribe to divide the land for the inheritance. And these are the names of the men from the tribe of Yehuda, Caleb son of Yefuneh, and from the tribe of the children of Shimon, Shemuel son of Ammihud, from the tribe of Benjamin, Eladad, son of Kislon, and a leader from the tribe of the children of Dan, Buki, son of Yogli. From the sons of Joseph, a leader from the tribe of the children of Manasseh, Hanael, son of Ephod, and a leader from the tribe of the children of Ephraim, Kemuel, son of Shiftan, and a leader from the tribe of the children of Zebulun, Elitzaphan, son of Parnak, and a leader from the tribe of the children of Issachar, Paltiel, son of Azan, and a leader from the tribe of the children of Asher, Ahihud, son of Shalomi, and a leader from the tribe of the children of Naphtali, Pedahel, son of Ammihud. These are the ones Yahweh commanded to divide the inheritance among the children of Israel in the land of Canaan.
Amen. Thank you, Miss Sarah. All right. We have after Jessica. Okay, good. Never mind then. They came up. Hi. No, you didn't. You wish you skipped all the names. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Jessica, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of her hands. Amen. All right, you're going to take us into chapter 35, reading verses 1 through 15.
And Yahweh spoke to Moshe in the desert plains of Moab by the Yarden of Jericho, saying, Command the children of Israel that they shall give the Levites cities to dwell in from the inheritance of their possession. Also give the Levites open land around the cities. And they shall have the cities to dwell in, and their open land for their cattle, and for their herds, and for all their livestock. And the open land of the cities which you give the Levites are from the wall of the city outward 1,000 cubits all around. And you shall measure outside the city on the east side 2,000 cubits, and on the south side 2,000 cubits, and on the west side 2,000 cubits, and on the north side 2,000 cubits. And the city is in the middle. This is to them the open land for the cities. And the cities which you give to the Levites are the 6 cities of refuge, which you give to the manslayer to flee to, and to these you add 42 cities. All the cities which you give to the Levites are 48, these are their open land. And the cities which you give are from the possession of the children of Israel. From the larger tribe you give many, from the smaller tribe you give few. Each one gives some of its cities to the Levites in proportion to the inheritance that each inherits. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, When you pass over the Jordan into the land of Canaan, then you shall choose cities to be cities of refuge for you, that the manslayer who struck someone mistakenly shall flee there. And they shall be cities of refuge for you from the revenger, and the manslayer is not to die until he stands before the congregation for right ruling. And of the cities which you give, 6 are to be cities of refuge. Give 3 cities beyond the Jordan, and 3 cities in the land of Canaan as cities of refuge. These 6 cities are for refuge for the children of Israel, and for the sojourner, and for the settler in their midst, for anyone who mistakenly strikes someone to flee there.
Wow, thank you, Jessica. Next up, we have Maria. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Maria, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of her hands. Amen. All right, Maria, you're going to take us from verse 16 to the end of the chapter.
But if he has stricken him with an instrument of iron so that he dies, he is a murderer. But the murderer shall certainly be put to death. And if he has stricken him with a stone in his hand, by which one could die, and he does die, he is a murderer, and the murderer shall certainly be put to death. Or if he has stricken him with a wood instrument that could kill, and does die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall certainly be put to death. The revenger of blood himself puts the murderer to death, and he meets with him and puts him to death. And if he thrusts through him in hatred, or throws an object at him while lying in wait, so that he dies, or an enmity that strikes him with his hand, so that he dies, the one who struck him shall certainly be put to death, for he is a murderer. And the revenger of blood puts the murderer to death when he meets him. And if he pushes him suddenly without enmity, or throws an object at him without lying in wait, or uses a stone by which a man could die, throwing it at him without seeing him, so that he dies, while he is not his enemy or seeking his harm, then the congregation shall judge between him who struck someone and the revenger of blood according to these right rulings. And the congregation shall rescue the manslayer and the hand of the revenger of blood, and the congregation shall return him to the city of refuge where he had fled, and he shall remain there until the death of the high priest who was anointed with the set-apart oil. But if the manslaughter at any time goes outside the limits of the city of refuge where he fled, the revenger of blood finds him without the limits of his city or refuge, and the revenger of blood executes the manslayer, he is not guilty of the blood, because he should have remained in his city in refuge until death of the high priest. But after the death of the high priest, the manslayer is to return to the land of his possession. And these shall be for the law of a right ruling to you throughout the generations in all your dwellings. Whoever strikes a being, the murderer shall be executed by the mouth of the witness, but the witness does not bear witness against someone to die. And take no ransom for the life of the murderer who is guilty of death, but he certainly shall be put to death. And take no ransom for him who has fled to the city of refuge to return to dwell in the land before the death of the priest. And do not profane the land where you are, for the blood profanes the land, and the land is not pardoned from the blood that is shed on it, except by the blood of him who shed it. And do not defile the land which you inhabit, in the midst of which I dwell, for I, Yahweh, am dwelling in the midst of the children of Israel.
Amen. Thank you, Maria. Yes. I remembered it a little bit. All right. You are Amy? Nice to meet you, Miss Amy. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Miss Amy, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of her hands. Amen. All right, Miss Amy, you're going to be our final reader, taking us through chapter 36, reading verses 1 through 13, which is all of the verses.
And the heads of the fathers of the clans of the children of Gilad, son of Machir, son of Menashe, of the clans of the sons of Joseph, came near and spoke before Moshe and before the leaders, the heads of the fathers of the children of Israel, and said, Yahweh commanded my master to give the land as an inheritance by lot to the children of Israel, and my master was commanded by Yahweh to give the inheritance of our brother Zelophehad to his daughters. Now, if they are married to any of the sons of the other tribes of the children of Israel, then their inheritance shall be taken from the inheritance of our fathers, and shall be added to the inheritance of the tribe into which they marry, and taken from the lot of our inheritance. And if the Yovel of the children of Israel takes place, then their inheritance shall be added to the inheritance of the tribe into which they marry, and their inheritance taken away from the inheritance of the tribe of our fathers. And Moshe commanded the children of Israel according to the word of Yahweh, saying, What the tribe of the sons of Joseph speaks is right. This is the word which Yahweh has commanded for the daughters of Zelophehad, saying, Let them marry who is good in their eyes, but let them marry only within the clan of their father's tribe. And the inheritance of the children of Israel is not to change hands from tribe to tribe, for every one of the children of Israel is to cling to the inheritance of the tribe of his fathers. And every daughter possessing an inheritance in any tribe of the children of Israel is to be the wife of one of the clan of her father's tribe, so that the children of Israel possess each the inheritance of his fathers. Thus the inheritance is not to change hands from one tribe to another, but every tribe of the children of Israel is to cling to its own inheritance. As Yahweh commanded Moshe, so did the daughters of Zelophehad, for Machlah, Tirzah, and Hoglah, and Milcah, and Noah, the daughters of Zelophehad, were married to the sons of their father's brothers. And they were married into the clans of the children of Menashe, the son of Joseph, and their inheritance remained in the tribe of their father's clan. These are the commands and the right rulings which Yahweh commanded the children of Israel by the hand of Moshe in the desert plains of Moab by the Yarden of Jericho.
Amen. Thank you, Miss Amy. And thank you to all the readers. Let's give them a hand. Great job. And this ends the book of Numbers, and we say, Hazak, Hazak, Vanis, Kazek. Be strong, and may we be strengthened. Amen. And I didn't have it up here, so hopefully I said it right. All right, the blessing after the Torah reading. Blessed are you, Yahweh, our Elohim, King of the universe, who has given us a Torah of truth and has planted eternal life in our midst. Blessed are you, Yahweh, giver of the Torah. Amen. All right, Grayson is going to come up and take us through the announcements.
Shabbat Shalom. I'd like to start off by welcoming our guests. As children of Abraham, we'd like to exemplify his world-renowned trait of hospitality. And to our guests, while we will be doing our utmost to treat you as guests, we would appreciate it if you would behave as guests. And so even if we're doing something you disagree with or you think we're wrong, we would appreciate it if you could conduct yourselves in a Yeshua-like manner. And for our guests, everything that we do, MTOI, as a ministry, is 100% free and there to be a blessing to those who will find it. With that being said, we do 2 live streams every week. The first being our Shabbat service, which is live here on YouTube every Saturday at 1:15 at the sounding of the shofar. And this service typically lasts for a little bit over 4 hours, going to around 5:30. The second live stream that we do is our Torah study, which is taking place right now. This service begins at 7:30 p.m. and is following our Erev Shabbat meal that we do here locally at 6.
And this service typically lasts for around 2.5 to 3 hours and begins with the word being read and is then followed by a midrash portion with our rabbi, where he'll come out and he'll go over the notes that he has for the Parsha. And then the floor will be open for any questions and comments that were not covered. And so if you want to follow along with us as we go through our Parsha schedule, we do have ours available on our website. You can find this by going to MTOI.org, and you can find this under the Media tab. There you'll find that we have the Torah, Half Torah, as well as the Brit, all on a cycle. And our Brit is on a 4-year cycle. So each year we will be reading one of the Gospels and then the rest of the Brit. And so again, if you want to follow along with us, you simply can look that up at mtoi.org under the Media tab. And so while we have our rabbi to ensure that we're understanding the Torah portion at our level, we have our very own YMTOI Parsha Pearls program to ensure that our children are able to understand and learn the word at their level in a way that is both fun and educational for them. And so this is a program that is made by us for us, and this is an incredibly robust program. Nothing has been taken from online. Everything is made in-house. And this is led by our very own Rebbitzin Julie and her amazing team. This program is broken up into 2 different age groups. We have our Gem Seekers, or Katan Aleph, which is ages 5 through 8, as well as our Pearl Seekers, or Katan Bet, which is ages 9 through 99 plus. And we put 99 plus there because we believe that because of the immense amount of value that are in these programs, that regardless of how many years you've been in Torah, that there's something for you to be able to glean from it. Each lesson includes child-friendly stories and lessons, lesson questions, Hebrew word studies, memory verses, word searches, crossword puzzles, mazes, crafts, notebook pages, coloring pages, songs, and a snack that are all related to that week's Torah portion. And so these are posted on Sunday, so they'll be available for you to use throughout your week, as well as on Shabbat, as it is guaranteed to take up a fairly large amount of your child's time, and is what we teach in our Shabbat school upstairs. If you are somebody who enjoys listening to the word read, we do have audio scripture readings available on our website. And to find this, you can go to mtoi.org under the Media tab. And this is done by our very own Shira Wendling. Shira's done an amazing job reading from Genesis to Revelation in her own narrative style. And for the first 5 books, she even broke it up by Torah portion. And so if you wanted to listen to next week's Torah portion in advance, you could go to mtoi.org under the Media tab, and then you would be able to access those downloads from there. We do upload on YouTube every weekday, so Monday through Friday. Starting with Monday, we have our first look. And so this is sort of our movie preview for the full teaching that will be posted later in the week. So this is powerful sound bites that are taken out and put together to really just get you into the right mindset to receive the full teaching that will be posted later in the week. On Tuesday, we have our MTOI shorts, and so these are 10 one-minute or less videos, which are really just powerful sound bites that stand alone on their own, and so we make them videos of their own. And so there are 10 of these that are posted on our YouTube, as well as some additional clips which are posted in our app, which I'll be talking a little bit more about later, and those would be under Rabbi Trails, and so that would be on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we have our full teachings posted. And the current one for this week was the roles of men and women, part 1. And following each teaching, we have our afterburn. And so following each teaching, we have about an hour-long question and answer time to really make sure that we received the message that our rabbi was trying to teach us. And so people will ask questions and give comments, and then our rabbi will further expand upon things that people were confused about. And it ends up being an almost mini teaching of its own. And so every Thursday afterburn is connected to that Wednesday's full teaching. On Friday, we have our In Focuses, and so these are shorter 5, 8 to 10 minute long videos where our rabbi really covers a subject in just that amount of time. And so we pull it out and we make it a video of its own. And so if while you're watching this, you want to get the full context from the full teaching that it's from, there'll be a link on the side that you can click on if you are interested. Aside from YouTube, we do post on other social media platforms, including Facebook and Instagram. Our Facebook is MTOI Worldwide, with our Instagram being slightly different, as it is MTOI_worldwide. And feel free that while you're following those, you turn notifications on so you can stay up to date with what we have going on as a ministry. Another app that we post on is our very own MTOI app, which currently has over 3,191 downloads. So we are just knocking at the door of the big 3,200. We might even hit it tonight. You never know. But that would be exciting. And so I would highly encourage you that if you haven't yet, that you take advantage of this opportunity, as it is everything MTOI all in one place, as well as a resource for our leadership to send a message to everyone in the MTOI community. And so in an effort to make sure that you don't miss any of those, you are going to want to make sure that you have your notifications on. And so in order to do this, you're going to click on the icon in the top right. Then you're going to go to App Settings, find Notifications, and then make sure that your general is slid to green. And once it is green, you should be good to go. An additional program that we offer as a ministry is our Torah Teens on Zoom, which takes place every Thursday at 1 p.m. as well as 9 p.m. with our very own Rabbi Tom Mitchell. Rabbi Tom's done an amazing job creating a space where the teens feel like they can not only open up and connect with each other, as well as the Word, and as well as establish how to have that proper relationship with a member in the vertical structure. And so this is a program that is for teenagers. And so if you're below 13, you should not be in the room. If you're above 19, you should not be in the room. If you're a parent and you're concerned about what your student might be learning, that's fine. Just make sure that if you're sitting in the room that you are off camera, as Zoom is a video chat format. And so we want this to be a space where the teens feel like they can be themselves and not have to edit or be self-conscious of what people are going to be thinking of them. And if there are other adults in the room, they're going to be significantly more likely to do that. And so we want to keep that to a minimum. So just make sure that you are off camera, and then once you've spent a few minutes and you're comfortable with what your student's learning, feel free to step out of the room so that way your student can experience the class for themselves without you there. And so if you want to participate in Torah Teens, for both the 1 p.m. and 9 p.m. class, they do use the same link. And in order to get that, you simply need to send an email to torahtime@mtoi.org. And then an auto-response link will be sent to you, and you'll be able to access the rooms from there. As an international ministry in an effort to serve people around the world while Shabbat where they are, our rabbi has broken up the world into different zones, with each zone having about a 2-hour-long question and answer time with our rabbi. And so the next one we have coming up will be on July 14th, and this will be our Zone 3 Shabbat Q&A, which is tonight! And so I'm sure each and every one of you is just so excited and cannot wait to get into that zone meeting, and I look forward to seeing all of you there. And so if you are from Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Philippines, Malaysia, India, China, and Fiji, I believe are some additional countries in which we have people in attendance from. This is your Shabbat Q&A, and you will have the priority in terms of asking the questions. But as has been previously stated, everybody is more than welcome to come to listen to the answers. And so I would highly encourage you that unless you're going to bed as soon as this Torah study is over, I would highly recommend that you join the zone meeting and you receive the blessing that's waiting for you there, because I can promise you that if you make the effort and you take that extra step and you put it forth to just do that little bit extra more and make the time and come and receive what's waiting for you, I'm sure that you will be blessed. And so again, that is tonight following our Torah study. That'll be taking place right after we are done with services. And if you do want to participate, you simply need to send an email to zoom@mtoi.org, and then an auto-response link will be sent to you, and you'll be able to access the room from there. The next one we have coming up after that will be on August 5th, and this will be our Zone 1 local Shabbat Q&A. And so this will be the Shabbat Q&A for everybody in Zone 1 who is able to attend here locally. And so this will be taking place live here on YouTube during our regular service time, during the teaching time. And so This month in August will be for the local, and then the month following will be for online. So coming up after that, we have on August 12th, we have our Zone 2, which will be taking place at 10 a.m. EST before the regular service time. And so this is our Zone 2. And so if you are from United Kingdom, Europe, Africa, or the other general time zones in that area, this is your Shabbat Q&A, and you have the priority in terms of asking the questions. But again, everybody is more than welcome to come and listen to the answers. And so if you do want to participate, which I would highly recommend, as I can assure you that it will be the best use of your time on the Shabbat. I personally can't think of anything that I'd rather be doing during this time than being in these meetings. You simply need to send an email to zoom@mtoi.org, and then the link will be sent to you, and you'll be able to access the room from there. If you're somebody who's not comfortable asking a question in a zone meeting or by calling the offices, we do have a Contact Us page available on our website, as well as an email, questions@mtoi.org. If you have something that is time sensitive, which means if in the next 1 to 2 days the information will no longer be of use to you, I would highly recommend that you call the offices, as that is the best way to get in touch with leadership in a timely manner. Some important dates that we have coming up is on July 16th, we have our leadership meeting, and that is this Sunday. And so this is a date that we should all be paying attention to, as we should be praying for our leaders. These are men that are taking hours out of their day from all around the world with the sole intention of working together as effectively as they can to serve the body and the Father to the best of their ability. And so we should certainly be praying for our leaders. Next up after that, on July 19th, we'll be having our Rosh Chodesh for the month of Av. And so that service will be taking place at 7:30 p.m., and this is a Wednesday night. And so we will not be doing a meal beforehand, but feel free to bring desserts, and I am sure that they will be enjoyed after services. On September 16th, we have Rosh Hashanah. And so that special Shabbat/Holy Day service will be taking place at the normal time of 1:15 p.m. EDT. Coming up after that, on September 25th, we have Yom Kippur. And so this is a Monday, and the service will start around 5 p.m. with plans to break the fast together around 7:40 p.m. for anybody who wants to come and break the fast with us. If you are coming and planning on doing that, just be aware that nobody will be breaking the fast until we are given the clearance from the vertical structure. So until our rabbi says that the sun is down and it is good to eat, nobody will be eating. So if you do plan on coming and breaking your fast with us, just be aware that that will be how things will be done. Next up after that, we have Sukkot coming. And so we will be celebrating that here in Cleveland, Tennessee from September 29th to October 8th. And we currently have over 327 people registered, which is a great number, but I'm sure even with as high of a number that is, that there's still at least one person out there who knows that they're coming and hasn't gotten their registration in. And so I would like to encourage those people that if that's you, that you make sure that you get that done, as the sooner that our leadership is able to get that information, the easier it'll be to plan. And so in an effort to make their jobs as easy as possible, we should be doing everything we can to get that in as soon as we are able. And so the Sukkot schedule is available on the website, and you can find that at mtoi.org/Sukkot. I believe that is all for my section of the announcements. Please help me in welcoming up Rabbi Steve.
All right. Okay, thank you, Grayson. Appreciate that very much. Excellent job. All right, now, a couple of things just with the announcements. Number one, we are at 327, and it's not the end of July yet. Okay, Sukkots, our biggest ones have been usually around on average about 4 1/4. All right, so we're already less than 100 away from that. So that, you know what that means? That means we may fill up the dining space The meeting space will be okay. We can handle 500 out there without a problem, probably 600. It's the dining space. So if you want a seat, I would get your registration in so that you reserve your space. Okay? Because when we run out of space, it's still going to be first registered, first served, so to speak. Okay? Otherwise, we'll just have to tell you, I'm sorry, but there's no room at the dining hall. There's room here at the tent, where we're going to have our services, but there's no room at the dining hall. Okay? All right. So right now we still have room, so you want to get in as quickly as you can. Because I expect, it's not what Grayson said. I know he's just trying to poke you a little bit. There's a lot more than just one more of you that are planning to come. Because we sort of have an experience with this for many years. And so there's this huge wave in the beginning. It gets quiet for about 4 or 5 weeks. And then there's a big wave at the end. All right? So that wave at the end has always traditionally been about 25% or so of the people, which means you got over 100 people that'll be coming, maybe more than that. We've had well over 100 people sign up in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks last time, okay? So now I think this time may be different because a lot of you did get that in pretty quickly, so maybe it won't be as many, but still. All right, so just giving you that heads up, just to be fair, so nobody can say we didn't warn you, okay? You've been warned. All right. Also, the Level Up class for everybody, the next Level Up class is on the 23rd, so a week from Sunday, right? So you'll have that. I did make some changes. I'm going to have Tommy put the new schedule on the homepage of the Level Up website. I moved some things around because I knew I needed to adjust for some things, especially Labor Day weekend, because I know some people may want to do certain things. I'm also going to be going to maybe visit a congregation on one of those weekends that could have been a problem. So I moved some things around just a little bit. So it's still going to be on Sundays, but you'll get those dates. I'll be posting them on the site. Also, when you come to the next class, I'll announce it then, okay? Because it will be at least 2 weeks till the next class after that, so you'll have plenty of time, okay? All right. So I think that's going to cover it for the announcements. Let's go ahead and get into Matot and Massei. Matot and Massei. And of course, it's always very exciting when we complete the reading of one of the books. Okay, so of course, we know that means we're going into the last book, which is also how we know Sukkot is coming close. All right? Because we're about to start Devarim. Okay, so we're getting into that last book starting next time. So that's a big deal. It's a very big deal. All right, so Numbers chapter 30. We're going to begin tonight's study in Numbers chapter 30. So if you're new, I'm going to just leave you hanging and clueless. No. If you're new, the way we normally do this is that I'm going to try to hit some bullet points and some things, then we'll open up the floor for questions. I do not necessarily have a whole lot of bullet points even though we have 2 Torah portions to do. I am also working on, just so you know, the new schedule for after Sukkot for next year's Torah portions. It needs a little bit of tweaking for the fact that it's got almost all of the doubles are now singles. And so that means that with a lot of the doubles being singles, I've got to make adjustments not only to the way the form lays out, but also the Haftarah and the Brit Chadashah portions. So have to be maneuvered a little bit so they all fit together. At this point, what I'm probably going to do is leave the Haftarah portion the same like it was for the double. I'll just put it on the paper twice. Some of you are going to read that and think I made a mistake. I didn't make a mistake. I put it the same one twice because it was the same one that you would use for the double. And we'll just leave it at that, okay? And so that may be the simplest way for me to break that up. So we'll have to see how that goes. All right. So we're dealing with some very exciting things here. And it all begins in chapter 30 with this issue of vows. Okay? Now, the thing about it is that this is also going to be something that is important for you to understand the roles of men and women, which I haven't taught this part yet. I mean, tomorrow we'll get some more of that peace-disturbing teaching. Hopefully it's clarifying some things and really, getting into some things. But look, Abba, the Father created the roles to include in a man-woman, like father-daughter, husband-wife type of situation, a protective element, because we understand, hopefully, that the role of men is to be a protector and a provider. That's sort of the simplicity of it, okay? If we watered it all down, it's the basics, it's providing and protecting. And so for you ladies, this is why it's important that you have one of these. Okay, you should have a father or you should have a husband. Some of you are thinking, my father was never there or he was awful and I don't have a husband, what do I do? This is why you hear people talk about how we cover them. We offer that because this kind of situation you can get yourself in, which is basically making commitments without anybody there to go, hold on, that's not a good idea. Okay? Here it's in the form of vows. But if we brought in the concept, it's you committing to something and having a man there to say, no, we're not going to commit to that. Okay? And so, what's clear from this is not only that, but if the man allows it and he heard it, well, then it's on him if it goes bad. So ladies, some of you are thinking, oh, but my husband's not up to the task of this, you know. Well, but then if it goes wrong, it's on him, not on you. Why would you jump in, usurp, insert yourself, have it go badly, and then not own it, basically? Because now you've got a double problem. First of all, it went badly. Second of all, you should never have jumped in front in the first place. Well, if he had done it, it would have gone badly, but then it would have been on him, not you. So hopefully you can see the wisdom in that, okay? Of course, for all of you that suffer from the malady called blueness, all right, I need to help you understand. We're going to have group therapy for 5 seconds. For all you blue personality-colored people, okay, your personalities, it's okay to let things go wrong sometimes. I know that's tough. Nothing should ever go wrong. Everything should be prevented. No. It's actually helpful for things to go wrong occasionally, so we learn lessons from them, etc., okay? So allow the mistakes to happen or your husband to go out there and maybe it goes well, maybe it doesn't, but allow that to happen and so that he gets to learn too. It's not just about, well, what if it goes bad? Well, then he'll learn how to fix what if it goes bad. It's a very important skill set he should have. And if he'd been allowed to be able to do that from the time he became a man till the time he married you, which in most cases is a gap of time, he should have made enough mistakes to learn a little bit of stuff so that he knows how to fix things if they go bad. You're never going to get to the point where they never go wrong. Okay, I know that's not what everybody wants to hear. You will never get to the point where everything goes perfectly. And where everything you do comes out just slides on through perfect, okay? Not going to happen. Maybe for a period of time it might, maybe here and there. Things do go wrong. Even if, by the way, even if you did everything right. Okay? Now, if you work with me over time, you'll hear me say this phrase. We do the right thing because it's the right thing. And if you do the right thing as much as you can, you should generally get better results than not doing the right thing. Even if it doesn't always get you the result, but doing the right thing should, over the longer haul, get you the right result, okay? But it may not always work. It's the right decision, though, okay? You're in a situation, you got a tough choice, you make the right decision based on all the things that you had available to you, and it may or may not work. But if those situations keep popping up, eventually or over time, your percentages are that they will go well because it's the right thing. All right? Now, if you thought it was the right thing and it didn't work, then the good news is you learned that it was not actually the right thing. Sometimes that's the case. But just because it went badly doesn't mean you didn't make all the right decisions for the right reasons. You can't control all of the factors that are involved. Okay? All you can do is the best you can. So, as we get into the chapter 30, it says, when a man vows a vow to Yahweh or swears an oath to bind himself by some agreement, he doesn't break his word. He does according to all that comes out of his mouth. Interesting, because it seems to me that that's exactly what happened at Sinai. That everybody made a commitment out of their mouth. Didn't they? And all the people said, we will do as Yahweh said. Okay, so they made a commitment out of your mouth. When you mikvah, you make 8 declarations that are commitments out of your mouth. When you get married, you make commitments out of your mouth. When you think about whatever you do, any kind of a contract that you have, in any kind of business you do or whatever, there's a contract out of your mouth. Okay? Sometimes it's in writing. You know, you got a mortgage, you got a rental on a property, there's a contract. You made an agreement. You should make every effort to keep the agreement. Now, of course, that doesn't always work out, and sometimes you make agreements based on wrong reasons, and it turns out it was a bad agreement. So I'm not saying you're stuck with every agreement. But if you think about it enough before you start, you may do a better job of vetting before you make an agreement, thinking it through, getting guidance and advice, etc. I got a lot of people out there that made some pretty good business mistakes, didn't get any guidance. I've seen people make all kinds of career decisions, didn't get good guidance. I've seen people make bad relationship decisions, didn't get good guidance. And so this is trying to encourage people to understand. You know, some of you ladies, you want to be the man doesn't get any leeway here. So be careful of what you want. The man makes a commitment, there's nobody to cover him. He's stuck with his commitment. There's nobody that can step in and say, no, that was stupid, don't do that. Okay, that's not a good idea, let's not do that. There's nobody to do that. Unless they come underneath somebody vertically to ask them, hey, I'd like your thoughts before I commit to this. But once they make the commitment, that's it. Here, at least, if the wife makes a commitment, there's a man that can step in. Or a daughter makes a commitment, there's a man who can step in if he hears it, if he's aware of it, even though she never brought it to him initially. Okay? It says, or if a woman vows a vow to Yahweh and binds herself by some agreement while in her father's house, in her youth, and her father hears the vow and the agreement by which she bound herself, and her father is kept silent towards her, then all her vows shall stand. Look, this is why I believe that Adam was much more culpable than Chava was in a lot of ways. She did things, he was standing there, he allowed it to happen. All right? Because that was part of the covering role. He should have immediately stepped in and said, excuse me, you don't need to be talking to my wife. Men, you let your wives talk to people they shouldn't talk to. You let them interact with people they shouldn't be interacting with. You let them make business decisions they shouldn't be making without you overseeing it, etc. I've seen people, look, you guys maybe misunderstood me in part one of that role of husbands and wives, men, the roles of men and women. Maybe some people understood me when I said, it's whatever you do in a marriage, as long as you agree, it's fine. And that's still true. However, for example that I gave, if the woman is going to do the books, the finances, nothing wrong with that. But men who don't oversee that are foolish. Okay? If the man does not oversee that, that's foolishness. Because you need to know what's happening. Because ultimately you're responsible. And I've seen that go bad so many times. Not because the woman is incompetent at doing the books, but because sometimes they sneak into other things with the money. Sometimes this and that is happening with the money. By the way, men can do this too, but then that burden is still on the man anyway, because he's still at the top. But the man is going to have all kinds of plans, hopefully, of how to have his financial life be sound and straight and organized. And if it's got all kinds of little problems going on without him knowing about it because he's not watching over it, that's a problem. Okay? And just to kind of be really clear, same thing works in ministry and in business. Now, I know this is going to sound, I don't even know what this is going to sound like to you. But over the years, okay, I've been doing this a long time. 17 or 18 out of the last 25 years, okay? Now, that being said, okay, there have been people in the organization that were doing things I didn't appreciate financially. But you need to understand, I was aware. Maybe not every detail. I was aware. I allowed, and I had reasons up to a point to allow certain things. Okay, because people go, why would you let them do that? There were reasons, okay? I mean, by the way, not reasons necessarily you would agree or not agree with, because it doesn't matter. It wasn't your choice. That's one of the things you also have to get used to is the idea that some things are just not your choice. You don't have authority or control over it. But that burden of responsibility was on me to oversee. And I didn't oversee like I should have, but I still was aware things were happening. I just didn't need to get my fingers in the weeds so much because it wasn't anything that was causing an actual real problem in the bigger picture of things, if you understand what I'm saying, okay? And a husband may decide that with his wife, that she's okay to do certain things and everything, and he doesn't need to be all that aware of it, etc., okay? Of course, the way to fix all of that is to make sure that each of you has your own money separate from the money for the family, and that money you can do whatever you want with. That doesn't matter. So if he wants to go buy something you think is dumb, or you want to go buy something he thinks is dumb, who cares? It's your money to do it with. There's other money that you both agreed is just to take care of everything else. All right? And so I've got my money that I can do whatever I want with. My wife's got her money. She can do whatever she wants. Now, by the way, we were not always this way. So this isn't some like bragging thing. We worked our you-know-what's off to get finally to this place. And I mean finally, because we struggled to get there for a long time. Because life is challenging to get to that place you want to go, especially in financial arenas. Okay? So that being said, this is really important as a model, not just for vows. Because you're thinking, well, I don't make vows. Oh, but you make an agreement. Maybe you made an agreement for the family to go out somewhere with some other people or to go attend something that other people are, and you didn't ask your husband if it was okay, but you already committed to it. Oh, by the way, honey, we're going over to so-and-so's house next weekend. Well, I had other plans, or I didn't really want. Why didn't you talk to him first? You know? Well, I just assumed. Don't assume. Well, you don't really care about those things. Well, but I do want to supervise them. Even if you know my answer, I'm speaking for all the men, right? Even if you know my answer is going to be yes, you still need to hear it. Do you understand that? Even if you know, take it to the bank, you're sure I'm going to say yes. You got to ask. I will give you grief for not asking. People do this stuff to me all the time, and I say, but you should have asked. I would have said yes. I'm still going to say yes, but I will spank you a little bit because you didn't ask. All right? Because it's about, can we all understand that Yahweh's about protocol? That process, protocol, procedures are important. You know, I know Elder taught us to trust the process. You got to realize there is a process, okay, for everything. And you can't ignore it or make up your own. The vertical, meaning whoever's above you, gets to decide the protocol. Your children don't get to tell you how you and them will interact. You get to decide that. Because you're here and they're here. Well, your husband's here. Okay? So as you go up the chain, the person above gets to decide the protocols and procedures that are required and appropriate. Yahweh does that with all of them. At Sinai, he made it very clear. You agree to do everything I say, period. I'll take care of everything else. It was a very straightforward sort of blank check, right? You're signing a blank check saying, we agree. We don't know what you're going to say yet, but whatever it is, we're going to do it. And you're thinking, well, yeah, but I trust Yahweh. I don't trust my husband. Well, why'd you marry him then? We really don't know how to do this process, how to select a mate and get married and all that. We just don't. We do it for all the wrong reasons, and almost all of them are how we feel, how they make us feel. Elder was talking about what's love got to do with it, you know? He heard me teaching a long time ago, the Heart of the Matter teaching or whatever, love and Torah. What's love got to do with it, right? I love a lot of people I don't want to be married to. Okay? Absolutely, 100% love them, okay? Not in love with them, I love them, okay? This in love thing, you know what that is? That's a mind-numbing, blinding emotion. This in love thing, okay? You should be looking for someone that you do care about, but that also you walk together in agreement, okay? And so men, you need to be that, well, let's go from the ladies. Ladies, you need to be looking for a guy you can look up to and admire. I mean, like, not like worship in any way, but like admire. Like this is a good man. I admire him, his character, his work ethic, his ability to provide and protect. He's going to make a good husband. He's going to make a good father, whatever, all those things, right? He's going to take care of me. And guys, Nobody should marry you if you're not that. I'll pick on everybody here. Of course, ladies, if you're giving away your cookies, as Elder said, why would any guy want to do all of that for you? Okay? We're gonna mess with all of that again tomorrow. Okay? And the next week and the next week as we do this. Because I don't think we get it, right? The world is heading in the direction of, like in the days of Sodom and Gomorrah, like in the days of Noah, okay? Which is where we're getting much more sexually loose, okay? And instead of being more sexually active, because I don't think we could necessarily be any more active than we were when I was in my generation, so I don't think it's gotten worse that way, but now it's got a lot more flavors to it and everything, okay? But the thing is, it's not, because I don't want to sound like some conservative guy who said, well, we didn't do that in our day. Well, we did, okay? Maybe a generation or two before that, they didn't as much, but we certainly did. And we're not proud of it or anything. I'm just saying is that we're also not naive and stupid and thinking like, well, you know. But that's the thing is, to step out and not be a part of that and be different makes you a target for ridicule, for picking on, for being made fun of, etc. And so we got to be really, clear about that's what's going on. So this is a continuing piece of the puzzle of Yahweh showing us how men and women are supposed to interact, and how those roles interact. So, this could be a part of tomorrow's teaching for all, in all intents and purposes, okay? Or at least the series that I'm doing. And maybe I'll stick it in there as part of that anyway, at some point. But let's just understand, it says that when the man vows the vow, he is bound by it. When a woman vows a vow and her father hears it and it doesn't say anything, then that vow stands. But, verse 5, if her father forbids her on the day that he hears, then none of her vows nor agreements by which she has bound herself shall stand. And Yahweh pardons her because her father has forbidden her. Okay? By the way, if she belongs to a husband, I can't resist these things when they pop up. Ladies, I know you don't like this, but you belong to your husband. Men, don't treat them like a belonging. Don't misunderstand what they're saying. But ladies, you belong to your husband. There is a part of that contract when he married you that you now belong to him. Oh, no, we belong to each other. Well, that, yes, but you belong to him. There aren't any verses that talk about him belonging to you. Okay? You belong to him. So if she belongs to a husband while bound by her vows or by a rash utterance from her lips by which she bound herself, and her husband hears it and he has kept silent towards her on that day, then it shall stand. But if he forbids her, the same thing is with the father. So he has the exact same rules apply as if it was her father in her father's house, is the wife in the husband's house. Okay? So, what's this look like today? Well, clearly it has to do with any kind of commitment you might make. How about that you clear with your husband before you post? How about that? Some of you do, and that's smart. My wife will check with me, not always, but often enough, because some of the stuff you already know is probably okay, but anything that's even remotely in doubt, if you post it, okay, you're in trouble if it's not something he would approve of. And he will and should make you take it down. And of course, you'll get all offended and want to fight with him. No, he has the authority to do that. Take it down. Okay? Look, I've done that. Nothing wrong with Robinson. She got a little blue going at one point in the years past, and I said, take it down. And she said, and I said, no, take it down. And so she did. And then we talked about, now this is before we came into the agreement of, I said, you really ought to show me before you post. Okay? Not every little stupid thing you guys post, because you guys post about every dumb thing on the planet. But I mean anything of significance that could reflect back on you and your husband. Okay? Because you guys post about everything. I don't post about anything, so I don't know why you guys post what you post. But, I got more busy things to do with my life, living my life, than posting my life. Or thinking that everybody's going to think how clever I am because I found some. This is the best part. You're so clever finding somebody else's clever meme and you post it. How does that work? Aren't you going to think I'm clever? Look at this meme I thought was funny. Don't you think it's funny too? Everybody can find these things. You don't have to be the one posting them. As a matter of fact, you can't avoid them. They're everywhere. On every platform. I don't care what platform you're talking about. It could be Facebook, it could be Instagram, it could be, TikTok, anything. YouTube, they're all everywhere. You can't avoid them. All right? Anyway, so that's what this could look like a little bit. Any kind of commitments that you would make. And actually, you know what? It even said, or a rash utterance. See, that's why I brought the Facebook post and other kind of posts into play, because that's often a rash utterance with your fingers typing. All right? You know what would be great? If you broke out in one, if you did one. In other words, if you broke out in a rash, if you had a rash utterance. That might slow you down a little bit. Oh, I noticed your skin's looking a little weird. Yeah, I made a rash utterance, and so there you go. It'll go away in a little bit. But I got a little bit of a rash utterance going on here. So if the husband forbids her, then it works the same way. Now, but any vow a widow or a divorced woman by which she has bound herself stands against her. And if she vowed in her husband's house or bound herself by agreement with an oath and her husband had heard it, okay, this is before he passed, because we're dealing with widows here, okay? Well then, and he was silent towards her, then the vows stand. And every agreement by which he was bound herself stands. But if her husband clearly nullified them on the day that he heard them, because remember, he's not around anymore, but so it has to be clear and known that he actually did nullify them, all right? But it says that the widows, this would also include divorced women, right? Widows or divorced women. Wait a minute. Did he just mention divorced women? I thought that was against Torah. Go ask a Christian, they'll tell you. There's divorced women here being talked about. So they're allowed to divorce. Oh, but not except for adultery. No, adultery gets you stoned. Okay? Adultery doesn't get you divorce. It brings death. So don't say that as the answer here. Now, so what about these divorced and widowed women? This is where I believe it's in your best interest to find a man willing to take on that role, where you can run by whatever it is you're about to utter or agree to and ask, is this wise? Should I do this? And that's what we offer, okay? That's what when you hear me refer to the ministry can be a covering for some of the ladies, that's what we're talking about. You're running into a position or a situation. Well, you found yourself in a position in life where you're about to make a large decision, meaning it's a decision with big ramifications. It's going to affect things in a big way potentially in your life. Then you probably should get a man in authority who you respect and trust to check your thoughts out and make sure you haven't missed something. Okay? I'm not saying have them make the decision. Nowhere does the husband or the father make the decision. He does get to put his hand down or not on whether or not that decision should be going forward with, should be moved forward on, right? So if you come to us, we are not going to make decisions for you. If you have a husband, we are not going to cover you. You have a husband. Some people try that. Are you married? Yes. Go to your husband. But, there's no but. The ministry cannot usurp any more than anybody else can usurp. Oh, well, if you want the ministry to usurp, go find a cult. They do it all the time. Okay? More proof we're not a cult. All these people claim we're a cult. We don't do anything cults do. Okay? Literally, there's nothing they do that we do. So I don't understand why anybody says that, well, MTOI is a cult. How is that? We control nothing. We try to control nothing. We loudly say from the microphone that we don't want to control anything. That's not what people normally think a cult is, okay? You do anything against Torah, I don't care. If I think it's going to affect the body, I'll throw you out. That's not cultic, that's just my job as a protector. You can still go and do it, I'm not going to stop you. Do whatever you want. And so, and even if you're doing whatever you want and you're still here, as long as whatever you're doing is private enough that it's not bothering anybody or leading them to do the same dumb things you're doing, that's fine too. That's between you and Yahweh and not my problem. Okay? Only becomes my problem when it's going to actually affect others. Okay? You're harming them. You're one of two things. You're either going to influence them to behave like you are, which is if you're doing something wrong, or you're going to harm them through your behavior. Okay? You know, the last person that we asked to leave was because we thought that their behavior was harmful. Okay? Now, and we also didn't want it imitated. Okay? So that's how that plays out. So hopefully, and we can get to the Q&A part here in a little bit, because I don't have a whole lot to cover on some of these other things. They're pretty quick. This was one of the big ones that we were going to cover. It's probably the only actual one that needed a whole lot of substance. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing else. I mean, I'm going to cover other things that are quick, and then we can get into more questions about this. But hopefully this is making some sense, okay, when we deal with this whole vow thing, okay? Let's see. Again, it just finishes out the same idea about the husband allowing or speaking out or not, okay? But if he nullifies it, then basically everything is good. All right? These are the laws which Yahweh commanded Moshe between a man and his wife and between a father and his daughter in her youth in her house. Okay, by the way, did you notice it said the father and the daughter in her youth? So it doesn't mean your 37-year-old daughter living in your house. Okay? Matter of fact, I'd just keep silent if she does dumb things, and I'd actually probably throw her out of the house if she's doing dumb things. Okay? This whole... Don't tell me about the economy. Don't tell me what the government's doing. Don't tell me all of this emotional garbage that they may have had in their life and traumas and dramas. You are not helping by keeping that adult in your house. Unless they are actually diagnosed and medically needing to be taken care of, meaning they cannot take care of themselves. All right? Do you understand what I'm saying? You are not helping. You are creating a problem. I just need you to understand that. You should, if your children are 14 and 15 and 16, you should be helping them understand now that they are going to be being prepared to be out no later than 20. That should be the goal. That's biblical adulthood. U.S. 18 is considered adulthood. Fine. Give them 2 years out of high school. Okay? Well, I don't know how they're going to be afforded to live on their own and go to school and college. Listen, lots of us did that. It's called going to school and working and all the other things that we had to do. 16 hours in a day that they can use to do both. They get their homework done, go to school, go to work, all of that in the same day. And quite frankly, I don't know about you, but I don't think I got 8 hours of sleep any time until I was over my age of 30. Okay? And even then, not often. I still don't. Okay? But certainly as a kid, I didn't get 8 hours sleep ever, or even 6 most of the time. And a lot of that was goofing off. So don't tell me, oh, well, they're goofing off anyway. Okay? They're goofing off. My son will tell me how he has to go to bed early, then midnight I hear him on the phone. Okay. Oh, yeah. Some of you are thinking, oh, he's going to see this and get mad. No, he's not. He's not watching this. Okay? And that's not why I'm saying it. I mean, if he was watching, I'd say it to his face. I think it's funny. You know? But you guys stop enabling the weakness in your children. And don't just, when they turn 18 or 20, throw them out. You should be getting them ready for that starting at least 15 years old. 15, 16, when they can, whatever age they can start working, you start getting them, you get them to drive, you get them a license, you give them access to a vehicle, and you get them out there with a job. Part-time, anything to learn how it is to handle money, to make money, and deal with that aspect of their life. Start them young. Look, I don't know what it is about today because it's different. When I was a kid, you know what we all did? We all tried to figure out how we could be the guy doing the newspaper delivery because that was always some young kid. All right? Now it's some guy in a car runs around, just throws, if anybody gets papers. Nobody gets papers anymore anyway. Okay? But I was delivering papers at, I don't know how old they were letting us do this, 12, 13. You get like a little work special permit to do that in New York. Okay? And I was starting to learn, and then we had lemonade stands, and we sold our baseball cards, and we made, and whatever we could do, okay? We tried to make some money. We tried to do something. Kids today, all they're doing is playing. They're on their phones, and they're just goofing off, and they're, nobody's thinking about, well, one day I may need to make a living. Okay? I mean, I incorporated and started my first business at 18. That's not to brag. I didn't want to go get a regular job the rest of my life for 40 hours a week working for some boss. So I said, I'm going to go figure out how to start a business, which, by the way, made between $100 and $150 an hour. Okay, because I was DJing parties, weddings, all that kind of stuff at 18. This is 1981. That's a lot of money. Now, imagine back then. Now that's a lot of money. Okay? But I knew, you know what, we didn't have these things to goof off with. Okay? I almost hung myself on the telephone back then. They had the long cords, and you talk to somebody, and you're turning around, and you're not paying attention. Right? Because we thought it was the greatest thing when they came out with these long cords. You didn't have to just stand next to the phone, right? And then you're wandering and talking, and next thing you trip your legs over or whatever because you catch the cord around you. And by the way, for all you kids, every minute cost money. You guys are all used to unlimited minutes, and who cares? You pay for your minutes, unlimited. No, we paid by the minute. So you couldn't just make calls. Your mother would kill you. Get off that phone. Because every minute was money. Okay? Forget about calling somebody in another city, another town, or whatever. That was even more money. Or if you lived in New York, calling across town was more expensive than calling 15 states over. From Queens to Manhattan cost more than from Queens to Florida. Okay? Just was like weird. So they had what was called local long distance versus long distance. So we didn't goof off. You know what we did? We were outside, and we're playing with each other, and we're getting scraped up and tearing holes in our clothes and flying over the handlebars of bicycles and skateboards and all that kind of fun stuff. No, skateboards don't have handlebars. We're just flying around everywhere. You're not preparing your kids right. Okay? You're spoiling them. You know why? Because your parents didn't do it to you, so you think you need to do it to them. You're ruining them. You're not helping them. Okay? I'm very proud of both my children. They both started working at 16, and then by the time they got to 18, were able to make whatever they want to make. I mean, they've got jobs that pay plenty for that age, for that. They're appropriate for their age. They're making their age per hour, which is as I teach, okay? Some of you don't make 18 an hour, and you're a lot older than 18. So that's, all right? So, let this be an understanding. It says this is the way that we're to learn about roles. And this is literal, yes, but it expands out into all the areas of you uttering or you doing something that could get you in trouble, embarrass you with a family, and what the role is of the man in that case. So men, if you are not doing this, then any of that, don't get mad at your wife. You should have gotten involved and you should have been, because you allowed it. If you're not overseeing and you haven't asked to oversee and you're not making any effort to oversee, well then don't get mad when it blows up in your face. Because it says here that it stands. You allowed it. All right? Some of you are thinking, but she does it when I'm not around. Then you have to fix it immediately. It says when you hear it. When you hear it, you annul it. You say, take it down, delete the post. Delete your comment, delete whatever, okay? You annul it. Oh, but they committed to go do something. Well, then you can cancel it. We're not going. But I already committed. Well, that was your fault. You shouldn't have done that without talking to me. I've said that. And rightly so, my wife wasn't happy with me. But also rightly so, she should ask me first. Do you understand? I'm just going to use me as the example. I don't have, I guess, the problem with empathy or sympathy that if you do something that didn't go through the right protocol, for me to tell you no, even if it messes you up and makes you look bad, that was not my fault. oh, but they're going to be mad at me now because we said we were going. It's not my problem. Okay? It was your problem because you didn't come to me first. Guys, pay attention, all right? Now, let me just kind of repackage that with this simple softening a little bit. 99% of the time, if she does come to me, I'll say yes. Do you understand? So it's not about giving permission and it's so tough. It's just the right protocol. Because there just might be something that I know that she doesn't know that I say no to, right? Because that's my job to look for what are the potential dangers, right? Protection is my role. Okay? Guys, unless you took a martial arts class or were trained by a good man, you wouldn't know these things. But you should know, for example, if you're walking down the street, you should be on the street side. Your wife should be on the inside. That keeps her safe. You walk into a restaurant, you should be facing the door and where trouble might come, not with your back to the door. Your job is protector. Now, I do these things instinctually because I was a martial arts instructor. And so I taught these things. But, and if you ever see me with my back not facing correctly, my back is to the door, it's because I have somebody else watching the door that I'm letting them have that role. Like if Elder's with me or somebody else. I'll let them face the door because I know they're taking that job. Okay? And I want to allow them to have that position where they can see. All right? This is a lot, all these things, you go, oh yeah, this thing with vows, and who makes vows anyway? That's not, we do this all the time though, we make commitments. Now, in the 8 declarations, we call them, with the mikvah, number 7 is asking Abba to annul commitments that you may have made in your past with any and all entities, organizations, or whatever that were not in agreement with him. And that was added, we used to only have 7 declarations. We added that 8th one a few years back because somebody had personally asked me if I would, as her covering, ask Abba to annul a bunch of agreements that she made when she didn't know what she was doing. I said, sure. I don't know how that works scripturally, but we'll take a shot at it. I think it certainly fits mostly in the parameters here. I wasn't in your life back then. You didn't have anybody when you made these decisions. I'm now hearing it. I'm going to ask Abba to annul it. We do have a basis for that, too, in Jewish tradition with things that are done in Kol Nidre and in Yom Kippur. Okay, Kol Nidre is the evening before Yom Kippur, Erev Yom Kippur. It's a service, okay? And so I thought, well, wouldn't it be helpful if we did this for everybody and added it to the mikveh declarations? And it comes from this, from Numbers chapter 30, okay? That's the whole where the concept comes from Numbers chapter 30. So just kind of keep that in mind. All right. Okay, I'm going to hit a couple of things quickly. Chapter 31 and verse 49. Okay, it's interesting to note that in this battle, it says that not a man of us is missing. Wow. Can you imagine? They went through this thing and not a man was missing. That's incredible. That's Yahweh's promise, though. He says, you're doing what you're supposed to do, and I'm going forward. You're going to be okay. In verse 50, he says, so we brought an offering for Yahweh for what every man found of ornaments of gold and amulets, etc., to make atonement for ourselves before Yahweh. So atonement is not so simply like, I did something wrong, so this atones for it. Okay? It has to do with doing what's right in the relationship. Okay? We receive these things, and the right thing is for us to give these things. So otherwise, we would actually be in the wrong. So I like the breaking it up into at one mint. So if they didn't do it this way, they would not be properly in at one mint with him. So this brought them to keep in alignment with that at one mint. In chapter 32, so I tell you we're going to go quick here. And in verse 11, okay, it says, not one of the men who came up from Mitzrayim from 20 years old and above is to see the land. Okay, so this was, where they're being told, hey, look, you're not getting in there. You guys are just a reminder, not one of you is going to see the land, which I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because they did not follow me completely. That's an interesting thing, because they did not follow me completely. The Hebrew word there is milo, which means to the full, or to have accomplished. In other words, it's not just they weren't perfect. Excuse me. It's not just they weren't perfect, but they had not done to the full or accomplished what Yahweh had intended for them as a people, as the men 20 years and older. They were supposed to go into the land. Now, we know this happens a lot earlier, but they were supposed to go into the land. And he said, no, now you're going to have to suffer this because you guys don't listen. You're not accomplishing to the full what I intended. Okay? So I want you to understand that because some people really get messed up by this idea of perfection. Some of you can get really, I talked to somebody today about the same thing. I hope you're watching, okay, because I can hear me say for everybody. We can really, really, really get overwhelmed with anxiety thinking that everything we do is, life and death. You're on a journey, okay? Deuteronomy 8:2 is always the go-to verse for me. It's not about being perfect. It's about expressing your desire to be perfect through your choices and your actions, and also through how you react when you're not perfect. Yes, it should hurt when you realize you messed up. Yes, you should be upset about it and sad about it and all that other stuff, but not depressed and filled with anxiety, just like, I messed up again, okay? And then say, I'm embarrassed, I feel stupid, I did it again. Get on your knees, apologize, own it, and commit or recommit to doing better next time, okay? And then let it go. We're all we were all told back in the days about this final judgment and sitting at the court case, and you're like, you're going to be the judgment of the Almighty. And so they start using things like life is a test. Okay, but life is not a final exam. It's a series of small tests and pop quizzes and some bigger tests, all to show where you're at in your progress. For some of you act like, oh, I messed up, I guess I'm done. Well, no. The only way to truly fail is to quit, okay? To not care anymore about being perfect. To not care anymore about making mistakes. Not to care about that, I don't care anymore. I keep messing up anyway, might as well just do whatever I want. That's how you lose. As long as it bothers you, have confidence you didn't blow it yet. Because you can't really blow it as long as it still bothers you when you mess up. Because it bothers you because you know it was wrong and you wish you hadn't done it. And you understand that struggle is still there. As long as that struggle's there, you will not fail, okay? But you have to be fighting that good fight. You can't just be like complacent and who cares. So it should tear you up a little bit. But a little bit, not like where you have so much anxiety that you can't go to work or you can't function. I know people like this, okay? I mean, over the years, I've run into this a lot. Well, how can he love me? I keep doing this stupid thing. We all keep doing stupid things. It's not a person in this room that doesn't have at least 1 or 5 different things that are stupid that they do all the time. And they don't like that they do it, and they're mad at themselves, and they struggle with it, but they still do it anyway. And you know the answer to this as to why, because you're all sickos, okay? All right? We're sick because we're part of the world. We still have flesh. We're still down here in the below. Okay, so we're like tainted with a disease. So he wants to see us fight against it. You got a cancer in your life, but he wants to see you struggle against it. And you know what? A lot of people that struggle against it win, okay? Know who never wins? The people that don't struggle against it. They never win. You never hear anybody go, well, I had cancer and I didn't really care, and look, it's gone. That never happens. It's the ones that say, I'm not quitting, I'm not giving in, I'm going to keep praying, I'm going to do whatever I can in my health and my life. They're going to make an effort. Those are people that often, not always, win. All right? And so please understand this, okay? You need to show him you want to follow him completely. The ones that he said didn't follow him, it's not because they made 1 or 2 mistakes. It's they demonstrated they were just not desiring to follow him completely. They whined all the time and complained all the time and went and did whatever they wanted all the time, just ignoring him until they got smacked. And you know what? Anybody have a 2, 3, or 4-year-old at any point in your life that you ever dealt with, even if it wasn't yours? Okay? That's the type of person, if that was an adult, that doesn't get in. Because they only care about what they care about, and they only care until you smack them. I mean, they don't care anything until you smack them. Okay? They're running around just doing whatever they want until you grab a hold of them, and then something happens. And guess what? Then they care about it for 5 minutes, and then they go back to doing whatever. If you stay there, you're not getting in. If that mindset stays with you all the way through adulthood, you're not getting in. Because only when there's a punishment do you stop. And then only for a minute. And by the way, you know that the child really doesn't have any remorse. They're just mad at you because you busted them. Mad at you because you took away their toy. Mad at them because you could put them in timeout. They're mad at you because you stopped them from doing what they wanted to, not because they realized they were wrong. So as long as you still realize you're wrong, you're okay. I'm not saying being wrong is okay, but the fact that you can realize you're wrong means that you're still open to growing in the right direction. Okay, the child doesn't realize it's wrong, doesn't care that it's wrong. He thinks you're wrong for taking away the toy, doesn't understand why you did it. Well, why can't I just eat a cookie before dinner? Because I said so. Why is that important? It's part of the whole, you know what, because I said so, I never liked it when I heard it as a kid. But nobody ever explained to me that that actually starts at the top. Everything Yahweh said was because I said so. So when I grew up hating to hear that. And I was like, I'll never use that word. Of course I use it. Okay? I remember the first times I sounded like my mother or my father. I wanted to bite my tongue off. You know, reached in to pull it out of my mouth. And then I realized the wisdom of what they were trying to say. There was nothing else I could have said except because I said so. And because I said so simply means I have the authority to do this. And I don't have to explain myself to you. You know, Yahweh made them agree without explaining anything to them. You know, there's a bunch of commandments he still hasn't explained to us. He just says, do this or don't do that. He doesn't really tell us why. You know, he told them, don't eat these animals. Now, we may scientifically do some research to see where there was some wisdom and understanding that those animals are not necessarily good for us. But you know what? Whether that's true or not doesn't change the fact that he just said, don't do it. And he never explained because they're unhealthy or this or that or the other thing. He just said, you can't eat these, you can eat these. Because I said so. All right? And the Sabbath is the day I picked, and this is what you're going to do because I said so. And you're going to meet with me on these holy days because I said so. Well, why? We got all kinds of ministry people over the years trying to explain why. Well, this represents this, and this is for that. But he didn't say any of that. He just said, do it because I said so. And this is the day you're going to do it, and this is how you're going to do it, and this is what you're going to do on that day. And, you know, you're going to fast on this one day, and this other day you're going to, you know, have unleavened bread and during those days. And like he tells us, some of it he gives us a little bit of symbology. Well, the unleavened bread is because they had the bread of affliction when they, you know, didn't have time to bake the bread. Okay, for it to rise when they were making it. But a lot of things, just because I said so. Okay? And so I think that's really important. So don't get messed up by, oh my gosh, nobody got to go in because they didn't follow him completely. It's talking about their full approach. It's not talking about them not being perfect. Are we good on that? I know I hit that hard because some of you are really hard-headed when it comes to this idea. You want, I don't know why, but you want to beat yourselves up. Like literally like to death. You just do not want to hear that you're going to be okay. As long as you don't quit. And I'm not talking about as long as you just sit back complacently. That's quitting. You must actively be making the effort. All right? That's how you demonstrate that it's in your heart to keep the commandments. Your heart to keep the commandments. I want to do it. I'm making the effort to do it. I'm messing it up every now and then, but I want to do it. I'm just not getting it always because I still got this flesh I'm wrestling with. Okay? I'm still struggling. Okay? All right, next Torah portion. Now, this is very quick, okay? So in chapter 33, you've got these departures listed here, okay? I want to point out, this goes back to the Passover Q&A, when I talk about whether or not the Last Supper was a Passover. because Worldwide Church of God and all of its daughters, they split off from that, really insist, and most people do insist, that the Passover, the Last Supper was a Passover, but they're one of the only ones who keeps Passover and tries to keep unleavened bread, but does it this different way. They believe there's a day between. Okay? You have the Passover, then the next day is so you have the Passover meal, let's say it's on a Wednesday night, then the first day of unleavened bread would be Friday. Like Thursday would just be an in-between day. Okay? That's the way they do it. Which I always thought was very weird when I was there, because we go and have this very solemn Passover service, and then you go to work the next day. Okay? Then the next day was the holy day. Now, the reason they do that is because that's the only way the Last Supper matches if it's a Passover. Because the holy day, if Yeshua's having the Last Supper, and then he dies the next day, because then he gets taken down because the next day is the holy day, that's an extra day. All right? So to force that to work, that's the only way they can make it work. Really, the most logical thing is to realize the Last Supper wasn't Passover. That would be the smart thing to do. Okay? Now, this is a verse that helps with my argument. Verse 3. It says, so they departed from Ramses in the first month on the 15th day of the first month. Okay, so remember when they left Egypt? When was it? The first month on the 15th day of the first month is when they left, right? What's the 15th day of the first month? The first day of unleavened bread. And it says, on the morrow of the Passover, the children of Israel went out with boldness from before the eyes of the Israelites. So the Passover was the night before. There's no extra day. By the way, this is one of the things that helped me fall even more deeply in love with my wife, because when we first were married, literally like weeks within marriage, we were doing we thought, let's do a little study together. And we didn't date long enough to do a lot of studying together before we got married. And one of the first things we wanted to study was this whole Last Supper Passover thing. Right? Remember that? And it didn't line up. And it was frustrating as all get up, because it just wouldn't line up. We didn't know what to do with it. It was like a square peg in a round hole, and we just couldn't make it work. Why won't this work? It doesn't fit. And this verse was the one that really did it for me right there. This is one of those verses when I got to it, I said, well, there's the answer right there. They ate the meal, they left. And it says that was the 15th. It's the holy day. They left on a holy day. They got up in the morning and they left. They didn't wait till the sundown and leave at night. They left. It says in the morning, it says on the morrow of the Passover, they left. That's why this verse is important. So I wanted to make sure we hit that here in chapter 33. By the way, when you see the 42 departures here, notice when it comes to all these departures, Yahweh moved them a lot. He may move you a little bit too. All you guys watching out there, he may move you to Cleveland, Tennessee. He may move you someplace else. Don't be so attached to where you are. Look, I can promise you, if you had asked me in my life years ago if I ever thought I'd live in Cleveland, Tennessee, I wouldn't even know it existed. Matter of fact, I lived in Chattanooga for a long time, didn't know there was a Cleveland, Tennessee. And it's only 20 minutes away. All right? So, I should say I lived in Chattanooga. By the time I lived there, my wife had a job in Cleveland, so I knew. But, when we used to visit and have a congregation, we had a congregation in Chattanooga, we never knew it was a Cleveland. And we came down and passed through the exits that were for Cleveland on our way to, the Chattanooga exits every time we came down to lead service Friday night. And so we didn't know there was a Cleveland. Anyway, but that being said, I had no idea I'd end up here. But I was always open to move. And we would never have ended up in Tennessee if we hadn't moved quite a few times along the way to end up in Tennessee. So don't be afraid to move. He moved them 42 times. A lot of moving, all right? And sometimes he let them sit around for a little while before moving them. Sometimes it's a very short period of time. So he never let them see it as a predictable pattern. Why? Because they always had to be ready to continually practice the process of he's in charge. Okay? Sometimes I think in your life you forget who's in charge, that he's in charge. I know you like to think he's in charge when you think there's nothing you can do about something, you just want to put it in his hands. No, but he's in charge of everything, including moving you if you need to be moved, Because some of you will call us up and say, well, I'm all miserable here with this or that. So I say, so move. Oh, all of a sudden you're like, oh, but I can't move. Well, why not? Well, because my family's here. And this. But you just told me they're the problem. You know. It's like the person telling me how the job is this, that, and the other thing. I said, well, get another job. Oh, no, I couldn't do that. Well, why not? I mean, I'm standing here in front of you. I've had 57 jobs or whatever I've had, and I've moved like 15 times in the first 10 years of marriage. We moved a lot, sometimes 3 times in the same town. Okay? We moved once in the same apartment complex, from a downstairs to an upstairs in the same building. Okay? Because the person above us decided they had a vacuum every night at 10 o'clock at night. I am not making that up. We thought they were vampires. They never made a sound until like late at night. Then all of a sudden they were very active and making noise. Lady vacuumed. She was crazy. She had cats, but hated cat hair. It's like, if you don't like cat hair, why do you have cats? So she vacuumed every night. She even vacuumed the porch, outside the deck. But at 10 o'clock at night it started, every night. And if you know me, I mean, I like my sleep, and I was awake. You know me. My wife, on the other hand, was not happy with that noise. All right? Anyway, so 42 camps. That's a lot of moving. All right, then we have chapter 33 and verse 54. Okay, I got 2 more things here, and then we'll go to the Q&A part. Yeah, I know, you're all laughing. And you shall divide the land by lot as an inheritance among your clans. To the larger you give the larger inheritance, to the smaller you give the smaller inheritance. Wherever the lot falls to anyone, that is his. You inherit according to the tribes of your fathers. You get what you get, and you don't get upset. Okay? Look, that's just, I want to just make sure to point out, they didn't get to choose. They drew lots. But it was given by drawing lots for the bigger properties for the larger ones and smaller properties for the smaller ones. Okay? So that the bigger one didn't end up with a smaller piece of land and vice versa. And so you have that going on, all right? And then we have, let's see, chapter 35 and in verse 8. Let me just see what it says here. All right, and the cities which you give are from the possession of the children of Israel. From the larger tribe you give many, from the smaller you give few. Each one gives some of his cities to the Levites in proportion to the inheritance that they each inherits. You know what I wrote on my notes here? I said, who decides that? I'm going to guess the Levites to some degree. You had to decide for yourself, but the Levites would be overseeing that because it's still an authority structure. It doesn't tell you who decides it. It says the larger ones gave more and the littler ones gave less. I'm sure that it was in proportion, okay? And in chapter 36, all right, in verse 5 through 10, excuse me, this is where we deal with the daughters of Cellophane. I'm kidding. It just looks like that. I didn't know what to say with that. Celophad. I'm making a joke. All right, so a situation came up, and Abba allows situations to come up to see how they handle it, okay? And so in this particular case, this situation came up where you have these daughters, and they're like, there's no son here. There's only daughters. So what's going to happen to this inheritance? Now that we're giving out the inheritance and we're dividing up the land and all these things, well, what's going to happen here? And so what we see is the fullness of the intent for land inheritance, okay? Remember, it's the spirit of the law, the spirit of the truth. Not the spirit like being an entity, but like the intent of it. And here's an example of that. So we see that in verses 5 through 10, okay? And so basically, the decision came where Yahweh says, fine. Then what you're going to do is you're going to say that they get to inherit. And that won't transfer out of the family. So you don't have, what was the spirit of the intent here? That you couldn't marry people's land away so that all of a sudden your tribe has everything because you married it into your tribe. All right? So it says The inheritance of the children of Israel, verse 7, is not to change hands from tribe to tribe. For every one of the children of Israel is to cling to the inheritance of the tribe of his fathers. And every daughter possessing an inheritance in any tribe of the children of Israel is to be the wife of one of the clan of her father's tribe, so that the children of Israel's possessions, each one's inheritance stays with the fathers. It's not going to transfer, okay? And so a decision gets made. But guess what? This is showing you how a Deuteronomy 17 decision could be made. Now, of course, Yahweh's making the decision. We're saying, here's a situation that didn't come up directly. It came up, and now we're showing you, understand my intention. And based on my intention, apply the law the right way. My intention is that the inheritance doesn't get usurped and taken and dispersed other than staying where it's supposed to be. All right, let's make decisions that make that possible, that protect that. All right, does that make sense to everyone? All right? All right, so I think that's going to cover it. All right, let's go to the Q&A time. So if anyone wants to come up, I fooled the camera people and Mr. Paul there by saying about an hour ago that we were going to get ready for Q&A, so they got the podium ready and got the camera ready, and then I talked for an hour. Faked you out. All right, let's begin here with Constantine. You got to move up a little bit so they can see you. There you go.
If a murderer is a blood revenger, does he kill himself?
That an elder clearance? Okay. No, he just, because elders got issues. All right. So, it's not possible to have that happen, Constantine. Okay. So the revenger of blood is someone who is related to the person who was murdered. Okay. So if you did the murder, you couldn't be the revenger of blood also. Okay, and now, of course, if there's no other relative and you did the murder because you wanted to murder them, then there would be nobody to do the revenging. The revenger of blood is someone who's mad that the person got murdered. Okay, it's a funny question, though. I like the question, but no, it's not possible for that to happen. Okay? All right, good. Okay, can you top that, Rocky?
I doubt that.
doubt
I'm not
that.
nervous, though. This is amazing. First time.
Well, good. You shouldn't be nervous.
Praise y'all. So it's, Numbers 30, verse 8, Genesis 3, chapter 3, verse 16, and then 1 Timothy 2, chapter 2, verse 14. Does those all tie together?
Well, those are all in my notes for the teaching I'm doing continuing tomorrow. Okay, Genesis 3 and what? Genesis 3, 16. Okay, so that's to the woman, I shall greatly increase your sorrow and your conception to bring forth children in pain. Is that the one? Well, certainly our children are a pain, so that part came true. My mother used to call and say that all the time, you're such a pain. All right, 1 Timothy 2:14? All right, that's what I thought you said. Okay, hold on, let me get there quickly. 2:14. Okay, that's where I said that Adam was not deceived, but the woman having been deceived fell into transgression. Okay. These all tie together into what I've been teaching. I don't know if those verses tie together to each other necessarily. But when you're tying it together, that I guess the verse 8, which is the vow of 38, and then you go back to, Adam not jumping in. So if you go to Timothy first and then go to Genesis, then it all kind of makes more sense. Okay? So yeah, if you go from Numbers 30 to 1 Timothy 2 to Genesis 3, yeah, that all ties together very nicely. Okay? You're welcome. All right. Janet.
Rabbi, thank you so much for
You're
this.
welcome.
So I have a couple of questions. So one is about 32:12. No, actually 11 and 12, the last part of 11, because they did follow me completely, and you did talk about that. So when it says they follow Yahweh completely,
Right.
It doesn't mean that they didn't make any mistake. It means
Right.
like what you said, that they desire to do it completely, even if they didn't do it completely.
Yeah, I in my notes I have verse 11 and 12. I only covered 11. So verse 12 it says, except for Joshua and Caleb, because they followed completely, which again means that they were doing to the full of their ability, made the effort, they trusted, they believed, they did, they guarded, they were the ones who wanted to go into the land, all right, so that they could accomplish what Yahweh had set them forth to accomplish. So by completely, it doesn't mean anything like they did nothing ever wrong, they were perfect. It means that they made every effort to fully and completely do what the Father had intended. Okay?
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
All right.
That helps. And then when you were talking about love in marriage,
Love and marriage.
I knew you were going to go there. All right. When you were talking about that, you were saying, well, it's not this love, what love had to do with it, right? Like Elder was saying. So it has to be that you care, but it also has to do with agreement. I suppose agreement to commit to the relationship. So I find sometimes a small percentage of the couples that I see that one of them will say, I just don't love him. I'm just not in love, right? I'm not like, it's not like it used to be.
All right, so what do you think they're actually saying? Well, I'll answer for you, okay? I'll answer for you. Because I don't want to sit here and play, make you guess because you don't know where I'm going. All right. My wife and I have been married for 25 years almost now, right? And I'm still waiting for a reprieve from the governor, but no, we're doing great, okay? We've been married for 25 years. She just looked at me. All right, we may not be making it to the 25-year anniversary after that comment by me, but no. Look, but the thing is, I can tell you after 25 years, I'm not bowled over when I see her like she might not be bowled over when she sees me. When I know when I feel love, I feel very much in love with her when we're walking in agreement. And she feels love when we're walking in agreement, okay? And so when a person says, are we good with that one? Okay, that one, okay. Okay, I just, redeemed myself there. All right, I couldn't resist the joke at the beginning. Look, it's not all, like if I feel love towards her or she feels love towards me, it's not because of her looks or my looks or anything that I did something nice, a certain thing. No, it's the more that we find ourselves in agreement and we treat each other the way we want each other to be treated and the relationship is aligning the way it needs to align. And you know what? When it doesn't, we don't love each other very much. We're not feeling that love. So when someone says, I just don't feel like I love them anymore, it's because you've been walking a long time not in agreement. And so the love is an actual the genuineness of love beyond infatuation, okay? Comes from feeling echad with somebody, like you're actually in agreement and you enjoy each other's company because you're completing each other in different ways and you match in certain ways and you're walking without effort and struggle with each other, okay? In other words, I know there are couples that when everybody's finally home and the struggle may be over the meal, because maybe they eat together, maybe they don't eat together. That could be a struggle, and they're not in agreement on how that works. Or then the TV goes on, they're not in agreement on how that's going to work. See, we don't have a lot of those struggles. And I don't know how much of that we had in the beginning, but part of it was trying to figure out what we each were expecting from each other. Expectation is a big deal, all right? But we have a routine that started to develop finally over years of working towards that gives us that comfort that we actually are in agreement, okay? On even the little things. And then, you know what that does is she'll look at me and she's like, I really love you. And I'll say, yeah. But it's not because all of a sudden I dropped 20 pounds and I'm working out at the gym. It's not, see, we look at love from a feeling, okay? Instead of being a outflow of unity, okay? Of coming together in life in general. You're not struggling with each other. Okay? You struggle with each other, you're not going to feel the love. But if that feeling is coming out of the unity of agreement in even small things like, what are you doing, and what are you watching on TV, what are you eating, where are you going, do you go out, do you not go, whatever. Just how do you, if you're not agreeing on the children, if there's children, you're not agreeing on the work, you're not agreeing on the money, you're not agreeing on this, you're not agreeing on that, you're not agreeing on how often you're intimate, you're not agreeing on, you could be really not happy because you're not agreeing on anything. Guess what's going to happen? You're not going to feel the love. That's your definition of saying, I don't think I really want that person anymore. Because love, if you want to make it a feeling, comes out of feeling comfortable, unified, together, okay? And so when you're not feeling that, when you're not being that, you're not feeling that, okay? The more you're not in sync, the more you're in conflict, the more you disagree on it. Because I've seen couples that I counsel, because I know you counsel couples too, but when I counsel couples, I've got a few couples that are probably going to get divorced, if not already in the process of divorce, because they don't agree on anything. And by the way, that's not a judgment on them. It's not their fault that they don't agree. They just don't agree. Now, bear in mind, you take a couple that's this far apart, that may be a little far to get them together. You take a couple this far apart, they move a little bit, they could be in agreement. But you got to be here together, right? But if you're way out like this, you move a little bit each one, you're still way far away. As a matter of fact, they may not even notice you moved because it's too big a gap, okay? All right? If you're standing where I can almost not see you and then you move up 10 feet, it's probably not going to change much, okay? But if you're standing like where you are now, Janet, and you move up 5 or 10 feet, I'll be able to really, because you'll be up close. We're not that far apart to begin with, right? Okay? And so I'd be able to notice that you moved, okay? But if we had the distance big enough, I wouldn't even know you moved. If I watched you, I guess I would. But if I turned around and looked again, I wouldn't know that you were any closer. And so the movement may be there, but not enough, because you're not agreeing. Which is why the process that I give people for marriage, for dating, for for getting to marriage, that premarital exercises that I give you are just absolutely critical if you use them right, although I've had almost nobody ever use them and not get married. So I'm not really sure people are using them right, because probably some of them probably should not have got married if they used them right, because it should have helped point out some of the things that should have been the red flags that would have stopped the marriage, okay? They all go through it, and they're all like, yeah, we could fix everything, and everything's going to be wonderful. And I'm like, fine, I gave you the exercise, so don't give me any grief later, okay? All right? And so does that help answer the question?
It does help quite a bit.
Okay? So when they say they're not in love, what they're saying is I'm done with my ability to handle the disagreement level. Okay? My capacity to handle the fact that we're not in agreement is gone. Because when you're quote-unquote in love, you have a bigger capacity to tolerate stuff. Because that emotion allows you to tolerate stuff. Which is why you marry the wrong person, because you're in love. And you ignored all the things that you knew were going to irritate the nonsense out of you the rest of your life, but you ignored it because you're in love. Okay? And you had those love-colored glasses, and everything's just wonderful, and you ignored all the stuff that you should have been like, oh my gosh. And then you look back now, I should have seen it. And it doesn't mean because the other person was terrible, or you're terrible. It's just not a good fit. I try to tell people a lot of times, is to stop blaming the other one. You guys are just not a good fit. It's both your fault. You should have seen it. You didn't. You got married anyway. It's not my problem. That's your, own that reality. Either find a way to move a lot of distance to get together, or end it, what you need to do, okay?
And so, Rabbi, thank you. That was really, really good.
Okay.
But, also you have, so when you have a highly conflictual couple, I almost have a lot more hope than when they're really disconnected and really cold and there's not even any desire to even try.
Right, because they finally got to the point where they were like, you know what? I believe that this can't be fixed. See, they're fighting because they still think they can win. They still think somehow this could fix. They're going to stop fighting when they realize it won't be fixed, or they just don't care anymore. Okay? I tell people all the time, anytime a marriage, in case any of you ever comes to me, first thing I'm going to ask you is, what do you want? Okay? And if you can't answer that simple right away, then you're on the borderline of you don't care. Okay? If you can't tell me you want your marriage is in jeopardy. That's the first question. So you might not be able to just say, I don't want it. I want a divorce. You might just say, well, I don't know what I want. That's already right on the edge. Okay? As soon as you're not sure that you want to be in it anymore, it's going to affect everything. But what causes that? Continuous lack of walking in agreement. Okay? You can't do this without walking in agreement. It won't work. You can't do that in your job with your employees and your employers or your coworkers. You can't do it with your spouse. You can't do it with your children. You cannot walk with anybody over time if you're not in agreement. Some of you know that you have kids you don't hardly ever talk to because you cannot come into agreement. Or they can't come into agreement with you, whatever it is. Okay, you have friends that you're not friends with anymore because you could not walk in agreement. And so at some point, the friendship ended. That's just a universal statement that Abba gives us in Amos 3. Two cannot walk together unless they're in agreement. You can't. You cannot, well, short term you can. But over a long time, it's impossible. Unless you're just going to be terribly miserable the rest of your life. Some people choose to do that. I think it's the coward's way out, but, you know. Because to me, cowardice is death and dying over. And not death like it's over. I mean, like it's just like a never-stopping, almost death. Just being in this miserable, dying state. Okay?
You're very wise, Rabbi. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'll send you my bill. But it's Shabbat, so you get a freebie. All right. Maisie.
Shabbat Shalom, Papa.
Shabbat Shalom.
In Shoftim, Judges chapter 11, verses 30 and 31, it says, And Yiftah made a vow to Yahweh and said, If you give the children of Ammon into my hands, then it shall be that whatever comes out of the doors of my house to meet me, when I return in peace from the children of Ammon, shall belong to Yahweh, and I shall offer it up as an ascending offering. And then you drop down to verse 34, and it says, He came back to his house at Mitzpah and saw his daughter coming out to meet him with timbrels and dancing. Now, except for her, he had neither son nor daughter. And verse 35 says, when he saw her, he tore his garments, because she was the first thing to meet him coming out of his door. So he had to keep his vow. That's a perfect example of Bamidbar, chapter 30, right?
This is exactly the problem, because remember, he made a vow, and you know, look, I know it starts off looking like it's talking about the ladies, but even while it's talking about the ladies in Numbers 30, it's always about the man and if he allowed it or not. But you know what? It also says it doesn't make as much, you know, words as the verses talking about the ladies. It says if the man makes a vow, that's it. You own your words. So men need to be much more cautious. Ladies, you should be, you know, cautious. I'm saying, but if there's a man, at least he's there as your backup. But, you know, men, you say something rash and dumb, you know, it's going to be that is, you know what it is, okay?
So it says she knew no man. But does that mean that she just, I mean, it says he had to offer her up an ascending
You know what?
offering.
There's a lot of debate among the sages and the writers over the centuries as to what actually played out here. He certainly lost her as a daughter, okay? And there's arguments that nobody believes he actually killed her, okay? But that he lost her as a daughter, and she ended up being given into the temple service in some way to do some sort of work or whatever. But he lost her as a daughter, okay, and gave her up to Yahweh. All right, this is the way it plays out. But of course, he's still going to be just as sad about it because this was his only descendant. And so now he has nobody to have an inheritance with. He has nothing. He lost out on that. He gave up his inheritance. And when he says, you brought me low, he says, no, you brought yourself low because you opened your big mouth. Everybody should be very careful about opening their big mouths, especially in committing to things, okay? Because it could blow up in your face bad. Now, we see an example where it didn't, but it could have. You know, basically, remember Jacob made a similar statement about some idols that were being searched for? Now, fortunately, nobody found them because he said, you kill whoever you find with them, right? They're not in, my camp. But that could have gone in a similar problem. So sometimes you can get away with it. I wouldn't recommend doing it very often or ever because you might not get away with it. It could go really bad. So you always got to own your words. Own your words. All right, Ashley, and then we'll go to live stream.
I'll make it quick because I just realized what time it is. When you were talking about go to your husbands for just about everything, before I got comfortable, not to put my stuff out there, but before I got comfortable going to Mike and treating him like my husband, I went to you a lot like the father. How much of everything should I go to him? Because I feel like I'm going to the other extreme where before I never went to him. Now I'm always going to him. Like I'm asking to come up, can I do a praise and prayer? Can I ask this question? Can I ask, how far should we take it? And because I know we want the middle, not not either extreme.
All right. Good question. Okay, simple. No, it's a simple thing. And it's a good question, though. Okay, by good meaning other people have the same type of question. I'll give the same answer I give people when they come to me for help. Because sometimes people think they're bothering me because they come too much. Which is funny, because a lot of you don't come hardly enough or at all, but the ones who do come, some of them think they come too much. And so my answer is always the same. You can ask any of them. I will let you know if it's too much, and I'll also let you know if it's something you no longer need to ask me. So Mike should be able to say to you, you don't need to come to me for that anymore. You now know the answer. In the future, you could just do that, right? So he may tell you those things that, I want you to keep coming to me for. Other things, you don't need to come to me for, all right? And so let him decide when it's too much, but it's good to swing the pendulum a little too far that way and let him swing it back to where he decides the middle is.
Okay, will he actually do that? Because no disrespect, but I never heard those words from you. You're coming too much. And I expected it about 2 years ago to go, all right, you're good. But yet.
No, but I'm just saying is, I will let you know if something is something you didn't need to come to me about. Okay. I've told you that in the past. I said, look, you really needed to come to me for that. You should have gone to Mike, and he should have handled it or whatever it was. Okay? And then he should be able to tell you at some point, those are things you can do yourself. You don't need to ask me. Now, of course, if he's going to turn into some controlling, narcissistic something or other, that's a problem because he's going to want to control you. See, men, you don't want your wives coming to you because you want control. As a matter of fact, you don't need all that burden. You want them to come to you about these critical things where a rash thing may come out of their mouth, a commitment that could get her or you all in trouble in the family in some way. Not every little thing. Now, out of respect, before you come up to the microphone, you may want to ask your husband, is it okay if I go up, I want to ask this question, I want to do this thing? That might not be a bad thing to ask. Okay? So he's not like wondering as you walk up there, oh my gosh, what's she going to say? All right? But if your husband has already told you, hey, listen, I have confidence in you, you're totally cool, go up there anytime you want, just get in the line and ask your question, then he's already approved it. Okay? Did that answer your question? All right, good. All right. All right, Rob. The Shamish team online.
All right. Miss Kay says, please give more example on when to be silent and when not to be. And she had a follow-up from reading, keeping the silence is like agreeing. How to disagree in silence if there is such a thing.
Okay, and I just realized today is like zone 3. So I should have stopped like 15 minutes ago. So let me try to answer Kay's question real quickly, then I got to run over to zone 3. I apologize to everybody in zone 3, but you should be watching this live anyway, just waiting for it to start. Please give me more example of when to be silent and when not to. When not to. Let's talk about that the next time we talk, Kay. Because sometimes when you ask that kind of question, it's very specific to your situation. Okay? So it's hard to give a very sort of broad stroke that would be good for everybody. But anyway, with that, I'm sorry to you all live streamers, but if you want to ask your question, you live streamers, it is zone 3. Go into the Zoom room. Elders there already with it open, probably wondering what happened to me and I forgot about the zone meeting. It happens. Okay? And so we'll meet you over there and we'll answer your questions there. So let's go ahead and stand up. We'll go ahead and close in prayer. All right, who opened us? You did. All right. So, oh, is that supposed to do it? Okay, Jeremy, come up and close us. Thank you. All right, Jeremy Troyer is going to go ahead and give us the closing blessing. There you go.
Thank you, Abba, for tonight. Thank you for this awesome Shabbat and for the awesome leadership, and that we can fully trust them. And thank you for all the words that were spoken tonight, and would we take them to heart and be attentive in the Zoom meeting. Amen.
Amen. Amen. All right. So, you know what? We'll just do it quickly from here. All of you out there, we appreciate you. We love you. We're going to wish you a good Shabbat Shalom, and go get in the Zoom meeting. All right.